He actually came to us and wanted out.
He was begging. Can I?
You got to do the monsters, please. Save me from
Totally. I'm just wondering, why isn't Cheetah one of the squares? Like, what's going on?
The Cheetah will be it's like 85 degrees here, so the Cheetah is camped out, getting cool. He's trying to stay cool.
Good for Cheetah.
But he has been known to make an appearance or two. So who knows?
Love it.
Obviously, I want to say thank you, everybody, for coming in. I am Patrick from the Midnight Society, and I'm joined by Mr. Al Lecard, also known as the Bat, and it's our good friend, the Poet Warrior, Eric Hyde from Hey Internet. It's Eric.
My pleasure.
And of course, the mighty Adam Marcus, right there.
How y'all doing? How you doing, guys?
All right.
Thank you guys for all coming in the chat. I don't know about where you guys are at, but it is hot as hell in Michigan. I'm in Michigan, and it is hot as hell here.
Are you all in Michigan, or are you guys in other spots?
I'm in Illinois. I'm like an hour from Chicago, so it's pretty damn hot.
I bet it's hot. Yeah.
And I'm in Louisiana, so it's like 100 degrees down here.
Dude, you just say Louisiana, I just started to sweat.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. That's all you got to do.
That is something. No, I am literally right on the coastline in Southern California in LA, and it's not really hot. It's actually kind of lovely. Sorry guys.
Just throwing that out there, right?
It just is, man. Like it's like I got a breeze coming in. I'm like I'm good. I'm good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Three minutes.
It's literally why I live here. It's literally why I live here. Yeah.
Oh, I grew up in Southern California.
Whereabouts?
Ontario.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm in El Segundo.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Where I left my wallet, and I never left. That reference is way too old. That is way too old a reference. Early rap. But no, I love it. I love it. Look, I was born and raised in New York and Connecticut, and a lot of people come out to LA and immediately start like dumping on LA and blah blah blah. It's all a lie. LA is like, and again, I grew up in a really nice place. Thanks, I'm good. I'm staying right where I'm good. This is very nice. We do get our hot days though. Don't get me wrong, but again, not as much on the coast, so it's pretty good.
That's a little different because Northern California, my sister lives up in Northern California in Petaluma.
Oh, yeah.
And she says she cooks up there. She's not that far away from the beach, and she says it's hot as hell up there.
But by the way, when you also look, when you get to, let's say, San Francisco, the adage is, the coldest winter I ever spent was the summer I spent in San Francisco, because even summertime in San Francisco is freezing at times.
It can be, definitely.
So yeah, but Chicago is one of those places, man. You get the coldest of the cold and the hottest of the hot.
Exactly. We've had, I work in a factory, so when it's outside and it's 103, or there are times when, the winter we get, with the wind chill, it's like negative 35, 40.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
People, I've lived here all my whole life, and people say get used to it. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No. What happened? By the way, what happens is everybody from Chicago or New York or any of the colder states, they come down to LA. Then we go back to where we came from, and we have all become the biggest wusses ever. Like I am just a wuss. Like I go back to Chicago or New York for any time. Forget about winter because I don't do that. But like October, I went for Chiller for the Chiller convention in New Jersey last year. It's the end of October. It's around right at Halloween, and I was like, oh, it's a little nippy. I'm like, oh my God, when did I become my grandmother? What the hell, man? What is that?
Yeah, you're like, well, I have a friend in South Carolina, and he'll text me like, during wintertime, how cold is it there? And he'll say it's like, I'm freezing my ass off at 40 degrees, and I'll tell him, dude, it's like 10 below.
Yeah, 40 degrees. That's quaint.
Yeah.
They have a little snow on the ground, and it's cause for a state of alarm.
They do. They shut down the towns.
Guard.
They literally shut down the towns because they don't have salt trucks or anything.
About I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now. 5 years ago now, we were in England for Glasgow Fright Fest, and Secret Santa was going to be making its UK premiere there, right? And almost the whole cast and crew showed up for this thing. We had like 10 people out there for this thing, and they got less than an inch of snow. And the British Isles shut down. I mean, shut down. We're stuck in London and cannot get to Glasgow.
That's insane.
Yes.
Wow.
For less than an inch of snow, they did not know what to do. I've never seen anything like it. I was like, are you guys, what? Huh?
They probably come out there with their shovels going like, what do we do with this? I never used this before. How do you scoop snow?
I just kept looking around at people going, aren't you the British Empire? Didn't you guys like run a third of the planet Earth at some point? You can't deal with an inch of snow? What is going on, man?
I had a friend who was in Georgia. She got stuck in an ice storm. They had a quarter inch of ice, a quarter inch, and it shut down the whole metro Atlanta area.
Yep.
It took her 6 hours to go a 15-minute ride.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
By the way, the people watching this stream must be so like enthralled with 4 guys talking about the weather for 15 minutes. This is amazing.
Well,
that's right.
And I have to say, by the way, these are like it's one of the more interesting interviews I think I've ever done, because I'm not answering the same 6 questions I've been answering for the last 30 years. So that's awesome.
We believe me, you won't.
But I know we'll get to them. It's okay. All right.
Oh, we're not. And it won't be the same 6 questions.
All right, I love that. I'm gonna okay. Then the challenge accepted.
All right, pressure's on Patrick.
Me with a good time.
Let me ask this, fellas: am I up to that challenge?
He's always up to it.
I'm digging it.
Yep.
Hell
right.
yeah!
All right.
Well, we have to talk about cold weather first, Adam. We have to get into the mode because we are going to go to hell in a few minutes.
Damn Skippy. Please, I've been in hell for the last 30 years. What are you kidding?
Thanks for coming. Oh, hey, there's Steve Merlo. Hey, welcome, sir. Welcome. Hi, Monkey. How are you? Sean Blue Gigi in the house. Thank you for coming in. Patrick, Echo Zero's in the house. Kaz, thank you. Hi, June. I had everybody in our chat. I thought I saw Hobbs was up here earlier. Did I? Hi, Katie.
Yeah, Hobbs is here. Katie.
Okay, here. All right. Those who can share us out, that would be awesome if you would do so. So, Adam, you got back from vacation. This is something when you and I first started talking about doing the show. I told the fellows before when we're doing our pre-show, I was really like it was cool when I asked you, and you're saying, well, I'm going to France. I'm going to see the Louvre and some other museums, and then we noticed that, I noticed it, and we all did actually. You're a hell of an artist.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it.
I second that. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Once Patrick invited me on, I followed you on Instagram, and just some of your sketches are just so damn amazing, dude. Like,
Thanks,
I really
man.
love the Christopher Walken one you have up there.
Yeah. The ice is gonna break.
I mean, Christopher Walken. Obviously, that's probably your first step into your creativeness, right? I mean, the first thing you ever did was you started drawing.
Yeah, I was definitely a kid who sketched. I'm very young. My dad was an architect and space planner in Manhattan. Wow. When I was growing up. So he was, he's a brilliant artist, and he's a great photographer and sculptor. He's done amazing things. So I'm sure most of that I get from my dad. My mother's also a wonderful painter, but my mother was she was an actress and a singer when I was growing up. And so my whole family were in the arts. So I was kind of in it from day one. From that standpoint. So yeah, I definitely, the first medium of storytelling was absolutely drawing. And look, when Star Wars came out, I drew every character and drew the poster and drew, anything I could get from Star Wars. I had to draw that. So, but I remember even in, maybe I was 11. I did a huge drawing of Al Pacino. And it was pretty photorealistic. It was pretty decent. It's not a bad drawing. And I remember like that won an award at school and all this. Like people didn't believe me at first that I had drawn it. I'm like, yeah, I drew that. So it's one of those things I've always done. And I do a lot of sculpture.
Oh, really?
A ton of sculpture. Yeah. And if you go down further on my Instagram feed, you'll see a bunch of it.
Okay.
But I do a lot of sculpture and yeah, I've done a lot of commission work and there's a couple of galleries in LA that have stuff of mine. So yeah, it's a thing that I love to do. Absolutely.
Oh, that's cool.
Thanks, how old were you when you got into drawing, and how old were you when you got into sculpting? And there's your lovely wife behind
you. She is. There's my lovely wife.
Hello. So how old were you when you got into sculpting, and did your dad teach you how to do it, or did you go to school for that, or did you just innate talent?
Well, it's something that I write a lot about, even on Facebook and stuff. I write a lot about this, but I was very lucky. I had a public school education, right? And I grew up I was born in New York, and then my schooling was in Connecticut in a little town called Westport. And Westport is a very affluent suburb of New York. It's lovely. If you guys remember the old I Love Lucy show, it's where they moved to Connecticut when they moved to Connecticut. It's also where Darren and Samantha on Bewitched lived.
Okay.
So Westport was sort of that town. It's also where Ira Levin wrote the Stepford Wives about.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't
know that. My grandmother actually dated Ira Levin at one point. So there's that. And my mother read Rosemary's Baby when she was pregnant with me. Anyway, it says a lot. It says a lot.
That explains a lot. Yeah,
it really does. But the thing is that I had this public school education in Westport, Connecticut, and I talked to a lot of people about this because we're losing arts programs in all of our schools across the country, and look, I am all for having football programs and basketball programs and every kind of sport you should have. You should have all of those things. They teach teamwork and competitiveness, which I think is an incredibly important thing for kids to have. But, music and art are the things that actually help you get better at math. And they're the things that build self-esteem. They build hand-eye coordination. Look, by the way, I'm also for I think kids should be able to play video games because I think there is a skill set there that has a lot to do with computer programming and things that they're going to learn in the future. And so where I was raised, when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old in my regular school, just my public school, we had things like sculpting classes. And I remember even as young as like 5th grade, 6th grade, we had a kiln. And so we could make things that got fired and then glazed and fired again. And my mom still has some of my earliest sculptures of, heads and things like that. And, that stuff, I think, look, I have lived as a filmmaker since I left college. I've never had a different job. I've always worked in the arts. That doesn't happen if I don't have that education as a child. That doesn't happen if my parents discouraged me from drawing. And by the way, I drew some disturbing crap when I was a kid. Like I drew gross stuff. I was Noel Cunningham's best friend. I basically lived at Sean Cunningham's house most of the time. So, I was, apprentice editing for Susan Cunningham when I was 13 years old on spring break. It was literally wall to wall boobies for me. And I'm 13. I mean, I always joke, like I walked in the editing room, a boy came out a man. But my parents never put the kibosh on that. They didn't stop that. They encouraged my artistic side. And by the way, I had to get straight A's. It's not like I had to, I couldn't mess around. I had to do my work.
Right.
But as long as I did my work, they wanted me to explore all that stuff. So I think I was really, I'm a product of a good public school. I never went to a private school. I never had any of that kind of experience. I had teachers that cared, that were well paid, as teachers should be. I don't understand the idea that a lawyer should make more money than a teacher. That's insane. And I think that, kids should get a chance to get their hands in some clay, and they should, by the way, forget about clay, because that's like, a lot of places have clay. I remember we had a full 6-month class, or a semester class, on plexiglass when I was a kid, where we were actually making like things out of plastics, out of plexiglass. Now, by the way, I'm sure some of the chemicals that I handled at like 10 will probably kill me in the next 10 years. But you know what? I still remember all that stuff. I still remember all of the physics behind all of that. And I was 10. That's amazing.
Well, I'm sure your parents noticed the maturity level too. I mean, you're 13 years old, you're carrying straight A's. I mean, that's a sign of maturity. I'm sure they allowed you to explore and to experiment and to create, as long as you didn't go, as long as you weren't hurting anybody, as long as you did
Absolutely. So, yeah. Yes. No, that's true. That's true. But I also have to say, look, it's funny. We're doing the documentary on Jason Goes to Hell right now, and we're about to send everything to the editor. The editor lives half a mile from my house, right? We both live in the same town in El Segundo in California. This guy's name is Eric Bietner. Eric has been nominated for the Emmy 10 times in the last 15 years.
Wow.
He's the lead editor on The Amazing Race.
Okay.
This is a guy that I've known since I was 15 years old. We grew up together. And now we live half a mile from each other on the other side of the country, right? Well, he's doing what I'm doing because he was raised in the same school system that I was raised in, where there was a sense of and again, it's not just having the resources. The resources are awesome, but it's having teachers and parents that are, look, by the way, my parents, they had no problem, giving me the stink eye and giving me we're so disappointed when I would do something wrong, as they should, So I'm not saying I had pushovers. I didn't have helicopter parents. My parents literally, I could have been juggling knives and I would have gotten away with it, right? Because
as long as you got straight A's, right?
As long as I did well in school, they didn't give a shit. They really didn't, man. They were like, you want to party on Friday and Saturday night? Have fun, because we know that you're doing the work. But here's the thing: I did the work because of the support.
Yes.
It really is a Mobius strip, it's like all of this follows all of it. And I think every kid is capable of kicking butt in school. You just have to know how to reach that student, and good teachers do that, so
how do you feel about how the school system is being changed now? I mean, now teachers are no longer being allowed to teach certain curriculums, They're not allowed to teach history.
I think it's awful, dude. I think it's awful. I think everything that's happening right now is about. I think we're in a deep trough. And the arts is always one of those things that takes it first, that gets beat up first.
Yep.
What kids are allowed to read. By the way, I don't think anything should be off limits. In a library or for kids to get their hands on. I think all of it should be available. All of it, everything. Yeah. If we're going to have freedom of speech, we have to have actual freedom of speech, and that's everything. But
you don't think we do have freedom of speech, do you?
I think I do and I don't. Here's the thing. I think we have freedom of speech. I also think we have very manipulated speech. So you're allowed to say what you want to say. It's just how either that's going to be interpreted or how big a microphone you have to say the things you want to say. Look, I mean, I can tell you this. I'm a union guy because I'm in several unions. That's what my industry is. We're built of unions. unions, right? And it's the only way that artists actually get paid is by having unions. Otherwise, we would just keep getting screwed forever. And by the way, we get plenty screwed even with a union.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Teacher unions get beat up all the time, right? And I understand part of that. I really do. Look, the idea that somebody can get away with anything because they're tenured, well, I'm not cool with that. I'm not cool with that kind of job security in pretty much any job, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But teachers got to stop telling teachers what to teach. Like, we got parents out there telling teachers what they can and can't do. What?
Mhm.
Wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and look, yes, you should be there for your kid, but I remember, like, there was no arguing with a teacher when I was a kid. No one argued with a teacher.
No way.
My parents didn't have yelling matches with teachers. They didn't tell them they were wrong for teaching me stuff. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
So look, I think that that every opinion should have its place. I think everybody should have the town square when they want it. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. I've always, look, even people I disagree with, there are friends of mine who are like, oh, they shouldn't get to talk. I'm like, no. Let everybody talk. Let everybody talk. I want to know where everybody is, and I want to know what they think.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know where they are. I'll meet them where they are. I don't want people to feel like they can't speak and then they go underground. And
No, I'd rather see who I'm facing.
Absolutely. Every time, in every situation. So, look, do I think we have freedom of speech? Yeah, I think we're too quick to say we don't, quite frankly, because there are a lot of places in this world where somebody says something and the next day you're just gone forever.
But that's what I mean. You're right. I mean, you got the cancel culture. If someone wants to say what they want to say, the next day they're being canceled.
Absolutely.
So,
and look, I am totally against that. I'm totally against that. I agree with you. I think, but by the way, I think cancel culture works in both directions. That's the problem. I think that instead of us having, again, a town square where people can say things and get heard. Look, I think that's the problem. I think we're a very divided people right now, and I think we all better start listening to each other, or this ain't getting better. It's going to get a lot worse.
Yeah.
And part of that, look, listen, there are people out there that have done some horrible stuff. Okay. And I am all for, those people. Forget about, being pariahs, but look, a guy like Harvey Weinstein, they can't find a prison cell deep enough in the earth's core to put that guy in.
Right.
Bill Cosby, fuck you, dude. Like, you did what you did, and you got convicted of it, and because you're rich, you got out.
You got out.
Let you out, right? Okay,
Yep.
so look, when somebody does some heinous stuff, like, no, I think everybody has to be judged. Everybody has to be judged by the same laws that any one of the four of us would be judged by, right?
Absolutely.
So I am all for the laws of the land are the laws of the land. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have or what your status is. Those laws apply to you equally. So I'm all for that. But this idea that someone can say something that everybody doesn't agree with, and that person can be shut down or fired or fucked up for their lives, like that's one thing that I've always said. It's like civil conversation seems like it's dead now. You know what I mean? Kind of is.
Let's just say I'm on one side and Adam, you're on another. I can listen to what you have to say, but I'm also the type of person that, like, if you start yelling at me, what's the point of me listening to you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're all going to shut down.
Exactly. There's no point of you even talking to me anymore because I'm gone.
Couldn't agree more.
Civil conversation needs to be brought back, and I hate to say it, a lot of it is, I think, because of the internet for the most part.
Dude, it's 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Definitely.
Well, that and I think that I think we kind of all went to hell in a handbasket the minute that Ted Turner created CNN. By the way, I don't have a problem with CNN specifically. It's not what I'm saying. The moment that we had a 24-hour news cycle and news had to make money, we were in big trouble.
Yeah.
Because,
Alexander freedom of the press, because we have no press now.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And by the way, we have no press because of the internet, because no one buys a newspaper anymore.
That's right.
And,
they're too busy. They're not reporting the news. They're making the news.
Right. Right. And by the way, they do that because they need to keep your eyeballs on it at all times. And by the way, you know what the best way to keep eyeballs on it is to keep creating a wider and wider and wider division between us so that we feel like it's sports. Because what we've done to news is created sports.
Yep.
We've done it. There's a team, and I'm on the team, and I'm not on that team. I'm on this team, and this team better win, or that team has to be crushed. Otherwise, my team didn't win enough. Well, that's nuts.
I think people think that they're in an American sport. They're like, they're a team, like they're here in America, so it's like a football team or a baseball team. But I don't really think the vast majority of people don't realize this. You're not in America playing sport. You're in Rome playing the sport. You're in the Colosseum.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. It's like you're not there for. It's not when you win, and you lose. If we win, we all win. But if we lose, we're all going to lose.
That's right.
We're going to lose a lot more than just a game.
Hey, united we stand, divided we fall. Pretty plain and simple, and that is a absolute truth.
Yep,
that is a truth. So
how
better start finding some common ground.
How does this affect you as a filmmaker? I mean,
hugely. I'm actually, the next film I'm making that I'm shooting later this year is very political. It's a thriller, but it is very political, and it's a movie that my producing partner has already told me he's getting me a security detail to ride with me because I'm
just the subject matter.
The subject matter and some of what I'm flat out saying is dangerous, and I get it. But I have to say, look, it goes along with everything that I've said my whole career, quite frankly. And you guys are Friday fans, and when I did Jason Goes to Hell, I included a lot of stuff that that look. I had a tiny budget for that movie. I mean, infinitesimal, right? So I had $2.5 million to make that movie, which was less money than any of the previous movies other than the first one had, right? So I'm making the movie for nothing. But, we're coming out the same summer as Jurassic Park.
Right.
And one of the things that Sean Cunningham taught me and will stay with me my whole life is, they're paying the same amount of money to see your movie as they are to see Terminator 2. So what are you giving them in your movie that they can't get in Terminator 2? How are you going to come to the marketplace with something and get people to spend their hard-earned cash to watch your film? What is it that you're giving them? And so for me, I had to shove 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, but on top of that, I also went, okay, why is the Friday the 13th franchise only obsessed with female nudity when more than half of our audience is women? So we're not taking them into account at all, right? And I'm sorry, some of our audience is going to be gay too.
Yeah.
So we're not taking them into account. Also, all of these movies have been about teenagers up till now, right? All the Friday the 13th are about teenagers. And I get there. And by the way, I was almost a teenager when I made the movie. I'm 22 when I get the job. And here's the thing. My response to it was, well, look, if I'm the audience that's been watching these movies since the first one, I've grown into my 20s. So I want to tell a story that isn't about children, but that is about people who are becoming adults.
Yep.
So the leads of my movie are in their early 20s and reflective of an audience that grew to that age at that point. And one of the things that I've been saying, you know, and I also had, you know, more black characters. I had women of size. I had a lot of stuff going on in that movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And trust me, Sean Cunningham fought me every step of the way. But my
Why would he? Why would he do something like that when, you know? Because I mean, it's got to be that, you know, especially when he came onto a franchise. Because, you know, let's talk about this for a second, because you're coming inside a franchise that basically has wrung the water out of the cow. It's like,
You bet.
you
You
know, right?
bet.
So when you walk in there, you know, you and the director of, you know, Jason versus Freddy and Jason X. I mean, you guys, you know, Jason Takes Manhattan. You guys all had to be if you think about it, you all had to be a lot more creative making natural Jason than the other directors did in reality Jason. Reality is a lot easier to film and to show.
Hold on.
Supernatural is like, holy shit, what are we going to do now?
Without a doubt. And by the way, even before mine, because I got to give him a little bit of a shout out, but Tommy McLaughlin on part 6, I mean, he resurrects Jason a la Frankenstein's monster, right? And he's got zombie Jason in the movie, the first time that there really is a very serious supernatural component, but we'll get to that. And he does this absolutely incredible job with a great sense of humor. That movie's got an amazing, I mean, in my mind, Jason Goes to Hell was the spiritual sequel to Tommy's movie. Okay?
I can see that.
So, and by the way, John LeMay's character, Stephen Freeman, was originally Tommy Jarvis.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And they wouldn't let me have it. Because New Line had only bought Jason. They didn't buy Tommy.
Right.
So I couldn't have Tommy.
Yeah, you know, I saw that in the commentary, and I couldn't understand that. Who in the hell would make it that sort of a deal? Like, yeah, we're just going to take Jason, and that's all we're going to take.
People whose intention was to put Jason up against Freddy. That's it.
But that's so narrow-minded. I mean, you can't get.
You're right.
I mean, that's one of those things where you're holding a needle and you got a little thread and you're aiming it in right. I mean, that's, you know, can you get any more myopic? I mean, it's like the mythology of Jason. It's a lot bigger.
Look, you have to remember. I was 21 when I actually first got the job. I turned 22 short after, but I'm 21. I'm standing in Sean Cunningham's office. He tells me I can write and direct the movie if I get the fucking hockey mask out of the film. Then I'm told I can only have elements from the first film. My movie can't be called Friday the 13th, and I can't have Tommy Jarvis. Go.
Good luck. Right?
And I was like, okay. And by the way, look, here's the other thing. Wait, and there's another side to this. So, yes, we had to be far more inventive and creative in the way that we approach the material. Absolutely. But by the way, here's the real problem. The audience doesn't want us to be more creative. That's the problem.
They want the same old stuff.
Yeah.
Because everybody keeps going, we want it to be different. It's got to be different. It shouldn't be the same old thing. Then you give them different and they go, why isn't this the same as the other movies? And you're like, what do you want from me, man?
You can't win no matter what. And I'll say this, that's like Patrick knows my love of the movie. And the main reason why I love this movie is because it's so fucking different. You know what I mean? Because like what Patrick said, you know, you're wringing the water out. This is the 9th movie. Okay. We've all seen it before. Now, part 6 was great. You know, 7 they started getting a little air quotes different, but this one is completely different. You know what I mean? You have Jason and Camp Crystal Lake, and that's basically it. And that's what I like is because let's just say you're marathoning these movies, and eventually you're going to get bored by like the 4th or 5th one.
Seriously,
because it's the same slasher motif. Kids go to camp, kids have sex, kids die.
Yep.
And what I love about this one is it's so different, and you have so many likable characters in this with the actors. You know, I love Steven. I'll tell you this, even haters of Jason Goes to Hell, they love Creighton Duke. He's one of the coolest dudes on screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what is great about Goes to Hell is because lots of times you go to these movies to see the people get, you know, hacked and slashed. You care about these characters, so when they do eventually die, you're like, when Creighton Duke bites it, I'm like, fuck, man, I loved him. You know what I mean? But that's what's great about the writing and the acting of these characters.
Thanks.
It's not like one of these characters where finally they're dead and they're off the screen. You're like, damn, they're dead.
Right.
And then we see what's going to go on. So that's what I love about this movie, man.
Even like Joey B, who was designed to be like so annoying and so like grating. However, when Joey B says nobody's going to touch that little fucking ray of sunshine, right? The audience goes, oh, she loves that baby. As much as she's like, it'll be just as cute out on the fucking street. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
You're still going, wait a minute, this character actually has a character arc where her cold, dead heart, grew 3 sizes that day.
Exactly.
And she loves this baby now. And now when she gets killed, people are like, oh, shit. Like, oh, damn, she's out of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Like, there's nothing more satisfying as a storyteller to have that happen to an audience.
And like I said, it's on the performance. Rusty was amazing.
Amazing.
And what I love about this is you pair her up with Leslie Jordan, who was also great. And you have that opposite thing.
Yep.
Leslie's this little guy, and usually the man is the bigger one. Rusty, she's like 3 feet taller than him, outweighs him by this and that, but they have this perfect, loving chemistry.
Well, I can tell you a cool story about this.
Okay.
All right,
please.
This is a cool story. So we're casting the movie, and the reason the character's name is Joey B. When I was a kid, my dad had a house out on Fire Island, off the coast of Long Island, New York. It's a beautiful spot. And we're right on the ocean, and one of our next door neighbors was Joe Bologna, the great actor, the brilliant actor, him and Renee Taylor. So Joe Bologna lives nearby, and if you've ever seen The King of Comedy, he's the lead, one of the leads of the King. Not the King. I'm sorry, my favorite year, not King of Comedy. My favorite year. Anyway, so Joe Bologna was like a hero of mine as a kid, and so when we wrote the character, Joey B was Joe Bologna. That's who I wrote it about, right? The character was written for a man.
Okay.
And in fact, the person that I had first reached out to play the part was my uncle, Ned Eisenberg. Now, Ned Eisenberg, God rest his soul, he just passed away.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, Ned Eisenberg is Eddie in The Burning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's Ned.
He was in Law and Order and Last Man Standing.
Oh yeah. No, Ned was a genius. We lost him in March to a very long fight with cancer, and so I asked Ned if he would be in the movie, and Ned said to me, and again, I'm his nephew. Right. Ned said to me, he goes, "Hey, listen, pal, listen. I've done these movies. I'm not gonna. That's a little bit of a going backwards for me, to do another slasher movie. I did The Burning. I did all that stuff. I'm good. I'm thank you. That's very sweet that you wrote this for me, but no, I'm not gonna do that movie. So my little 22-year-old heart was broken. And so I started looking for guys for this role. Right, we're gonna get a guy to play Joey B. So at the same time, we were casting for Shelby, right? For the wife, which was a woman.
Is that where the name Pookie came from? Because it's going to be a woman?
No. That was actually just a play. That was something we did in rehearsal. But
okay.
I say to so Rusty Schwimmer comes in to audition to play Shelby, to play the wife. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And she kills it. Her audition is insane. It's so good, right? And I still had a bunch of women who were coming into play, who were gonna audition for Shelby. But I turned to Rusty, and I had been acting opposite most of my cast in the auditions because I wanted to see how they worked, and I grew up as an actor. And so I was exhausted. My throat was exhausted. I said, "Hey, listen, come here." I said, "Would you mind?" I said, "Look, I'm casting you. You got the part. You're done. You got it." She's like, "You're kidding." I was like, "No, it's yours." But here's the thing. Would you mind hanging out and reading Joey B opposite the other women that are coming in? Because I want to give them their audition. I don't want them to feel like I'm just screwing them over and sending them home. I want them all to be heard. Can you just read opposite them? She's like, "Oh my God, absolutely. I'll do whatever you're booking me. I'll do whatever you need me to do." I said, "Great." So
how young was Rusty? Has she done very much by the time you got
no, she had done almost nothing. It was the beginning of her career.
Candyman was the only thing I knew of before this.
Yeah, and remember, she grew up with oh my God, what's wrong with me? Virginia Madsen. Her and Virginia have been friends since they were little girls. They were roommates.
Wow.
Okay.
So anyway, so I say, can you do this for me? She's like, no problem. So she starts reading Joey B, and as she's reading Joey B, I was like, and I turned to my casting directors. I said, guys, we booked her for the wrong role. And they were like, what? I said, she's brilliant as Joey B. She's better than any of the guys that have come in. By the way, people who came in for Joey B, Mickey Dolenz, Meatloaf.
Oh,
Who,
wow.
By the way, I was Meatloaf's rock gardener when I was a kid. That is a true story. I also played Columbia in Sono Cinema's production of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, because we played the movie every Saturday night, and I worked at the theater. And when I was 15 years old, the movie had its 10th anniversary, and Meatloaf carried me in on his shoulder in my full Columbia outfit. True story.
Wow.
So, sorry. Anyway, so I was like, this is the woman to play this role. Like, let's rewrite the movie. Like, I want this to be a woman now. So I turned to my casting folks. I said, okay. I said, because Rusty is such a big woman, I said, I want to find a tiny little man. Is there a tiny little man? And David Giella said, do I have a tiny little man for you? And Leslie came in the next day, and I was like, done. He read 2 lines. I was like, we're done. That's it. That's the guy. Done. Is that fast?
That was perfect. And one more thing, because I don't want to take over the interview or whatever. But one more thing I loved about Joey B is I don't know if this was intentional or not, but like some of the humor in this movie is really cool. She's one of these women, or one of these characters in general, just won't shut the hell up. Foul mouth, loud, obnoxious, lovable, but loud, obnoxious. And how is she killed? Her mouth is smashed in. She's given the ultimate shut up.
That was written literally in the script. That was why she got the mouth.
That's what I was going to ask.
She's such a motor mouth that the whole point was we wanted to give the audience a certain satisfaction that this woman who won't shut up just got told shut up.
Thank you. Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yep. By the way, here's what's remarkable. Look, we did a lot of improv and stuff, not on set. We did a lot of improv in rehearsals. Yes, Jason Goes to Hell is probably the only Friday the 13th movie that had a month of acting rehearsal before we shot a frame of film. Because I was a theater guy. I had my first theater company when I was 15 years old, and I was an actor. I love the theater, right? I had directed, been in, or choreographed over 70 plays by the time I did Jason Goes to Hell. So my life was in the theater. So we workshop stuff constantly, right? And the writer, Dean Laurie, was always there with me, my writing partner. But here's the thing. What's said in that movie, for the most part, is what was written on those pages. Like, that script.
Yeah.
It's a cool screenplay. It really is. And it sounds the way people talk, and it's really funny. Like, it's a funny movie.
It is.
And again, that's also in part because, well, I mean, I love comedy, but Tommy McLaughlin made a funny movie, and I was like, that's my favorite Friday. I want to emulate that more than any of the other ones. So.
And it makes sense too that it would be strictly on the paper since that's your first movie, and the first thing you want to do is somewhat retain creative control. You want to be able to, because you don't want to have a bunch of cast members all suddenly do Vince Vaughn on you, then the movie's no longer yours.
No.
But
by the way, to that point, look, when I'm working with someone like Stephen Williams, who was amazing, right? I mean, a real doll, right? So Stephen Williams and I are on set, and we had rehearsed a little bit, but I hadn't had as much rehearsal time with him because he's very busy. And so we're on set, and we start working out my favorite scene in the movie, which is the finger breaking scene. And he says, "Hey, I had this idea that maybe it would be like a almost feels like it's a sexual thing, like it's a prison, like I'm gonna do something to this guy in prison. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, this has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And poor John LeMay was like, what are we doing? And I said, and when he's like, give me a hand. And he puts his hand and he's like caressing his hand. And it was great because John was like, oh, this is awesome. This is freaking me out. I was like, yeah. So like we still had, I had room always for my actors to say something and to have input.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, look, you know, I went to NYU and I won Best Picture at NYU when I was there, which was awesome. And I loved NYU. Problem though, NYU teaches the auteur theory. This is a big basket of bullshit. Okay? There is no such thing. There is no such thing. It's just a lie. Unless you are the writer, director, producer, star, coffee guy, gaffer, editing assistant, there's no such thing as an auteur. Because a movie, you need an army of artists to get a movie made, to get that done.
Right.
And I don't understand directors that don't allow input, don't want input. I think those people are very myopic. I think they're not taking in the fact that you've hired experts for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And if you allow everybody to contribute to the movie, well, then the auteur theory is really blown out of the water because it's all just bullshit. So for me, I want my actors always to feel like there's room, not a lot of room, but room to say to me, hey, can we try it this way? I have never told an actor ever on set when they say to me, can I have one more? Can I have one more take? And even if I'm in crunch time, I'm like, yeah, you got one more. I'll give you one more.
Cool.
You know, because
That's a lot more. That's a lot more happening today. That happens all the time today. But back when you were making your film, not so much, because back then you were shooting on film.
You bet.
And that was a lot more expensive. Now with the digital cameras, you could do 40 takes and not
Sure.
burn it, not waste any money.
Sure. But it's time.
Other than right.
Time is still the thing that costs the most money. And you're 100% right. When you're shooting on film, everything is way more deliberate. Way more deliberate. You know, again, on Jason Goes to Hell, I had one camera. I had a camera. You know,
Wow.
Now, I mean, any film I shoot, I've got 3 cameras at least.
How much was your film budget for Jason Goes to Hell?
I don't know, but I can tell you this. This is another interesting little factoid. So Jason Goes to Hell is only the second movie ever shot at 22 frames per second and projected at 24. The other film that was done this way is a movie called Deep Star 6, which was the last film Sean directed before we made Jason Goes to Hell. The reason is that Sean Cunningham, quote unquote, actors can't do anything fast enough. They used to do everything faster. Now they got to have motivation. Why am I going to the door? I say, you know why you're going to the door? Because your paycheck is on the other side.
Jeez.
He's lovely.
Was it Sean at that time? Was Sean by that time? Was he bitter? Did he feel like even a producer can be typecast? Did he feel that he was typecast as a producer? Like
100%. 100%. It's why. By the way, it's why he wanted me to get rid of the mask. You have to remember. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that people forget about Sean. So Sean made Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Full stop. That's it. He didn't make part 2 through part 8. He had nothing to do with those movies. Steve Miner, his protege, made part 2 and part 3.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, when Sean was asked about doing another Friday the 13th movie, he came to them, and because Sean never met an idea John Carpenter had that he didn't want to call his own, he said, well, I don't want to tell a continuing story. I want to tell stories about the worst day of the year, the most unlucky day of the year, right? The same way John Carpenter didn't want to tell Michael Myers movies. He wanted to tell tales of Halloween, right? Which is why Halloween 3 is the only actual other Halloween movie.
Right.
Right? Because that's what John Carpenter wanted. So Sean wanted to do that. The studio said, well, what about that guy, Jason? And Sean said, who? And they said, the boy in the lake. He went, the dead kid from the 50s? What? They said, well, he jumped up at the end. He goes, yeah, because I was ripping off Carrie. Of course he jumped up at the end, but that's a dream. That's not, it didn't happen.
Right.
They're like, well, we think it did happen. And we're going to make movies about that guy. And he said, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. I'm not doing that movie. And then they said to him, what do you think about the sack over the head? And he said, what is it? Elephant Man, the horror movie? And then they came to him about part 3 and said, we're putting a hockey mask on him. And he said, oh, I thought the bag was stupid. So now, cut to,
That's amazing.
you got a guy who 13 years later, right, is sitting in an office, and I was his, as he called me, his bitch. I was doing all of his personal shit and getting his car detailed and getting his lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And he was trying to make movies, dramas for Sean Penn. He was trying to make movies. He wasn't making horror movies. He wanted to make other movies because he thinks horror movies are stupid. He thinks the audience is stupid. That's quote unquote from this dude.
Wow.
Okay?
He's sort of right. I mean, honestly, some of the audiences, especially today's
By the way,
audience.
some of the audience for musicals are idiots. So it's like, look, here's the problem. Again, horror fans don't deserve nice things because every time they ask for something and you deliver it, they go, but it's not like the thing I saw every other time. But by the way, it's why the Marvel movies do so well. Because we keep just doing the same thing. By the way, I'm a huge fan of the Marvel movies. I'm a big idiot. Like, I love sitting there and like give me some action superheroes beating up Thanos every day of the week. I'm in. Okay. But the repetition is there's a safety, there's a comfort food in it. It's why this country is still eating McDonald's like it's never going to go out of style. Right. Because we like comfort food. Got it. And that part I understand. I do understand that. I just think we can give people, a better version of comfort food. I think we can give them, something that's familiar, but that is a little new and sort of exciting. And I think I might have ripped the Band-Aid off a little too quickly with Jason Goes to Hell. That said, here's the thing. Sean Cunningham couldn't get any of those dramas made. He couldn't get anyone to take him seriously because he's the guy who made Friday the 13th and Spring Break and House, which is a terrific movie. Mm-hmm. But by the way, everybody thought he made every one of the Friday the 13th movies. He didn't. So he never made a Jason movie with the hockey mask. He never made one. Not one.
Okay, so
suddenly he's got my movie.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Why the hell, if he thought it was stupid and he didn't like it, he didn't like the audience, and he felt like he was typecast, and he wanted to break free, why the hell did he fight Miller so hard for Miller's creation?
Because the thing Sean Cunningham loves more than anything in the world is money.
Money.
That's it. That's it. 100% why.
I mean, yeah, because it's like, he went to, for that point of view, it's like, why do you have that point of view? Then why the hell did you fight so damn hard for, and it wasn't his creation. It was Miller's creation. So why the hell did you fight so hard for it? I mean,
he does not want to share $1 with him. Not $1.
Okay, now was he? But he wasn't like that in the beginnings. I guess that's my point.
Was he always
like that?
Yeah. Yes.
Or did he become jaded during the years?
No. Look, I give Sean tremendous credit for a number of things. One, he gave me my start. Absolutely. That being said, Sean made a movie called My Boyfriend's Back.
Yep.
Yeah.
that came out the week before Jason Goes to Hell. I'm the person who brought him that movie.
Mhm.
I was the producer of that movie. I'm the one who introduced him to Dean Lorey, who wrote that movie.
Yep.
That I had developed that film for years before I was working with Sean while I was in college. And I gave Sean one of his biggest budgeted films up to that point at Disney because I had brought that to him. It's why he gave me Jason Goes to Hell. Okay. But he gave me my shot. No two ways about it. He believed in me. Second, that I give him credit for. Sean is a remarkable line producer. When you're on the floor and you are making your movie, he is the guy you want when you say, I have a problem, I'm in trouble, what do I do? He is that guy. And he's a guy who can squeeze $1 out of a penny. He's that dude.
Cool.
So when it comes to physical production, the man is a genius. He is. He's a genius. He's actually kind of a wizard, right?
Mhm.
I give the devil their due. Is Sean a nice man? No. No.
Mhm.
Sorry. Nope. And I'm always gonna say what the honest thing is.
Right.
It's easy to hide behind, oh, he's just terrific and it was great, nice to get experience. Bullshit. He was a bully. He was terrible to me. I mean, terrible to me. The studio was kind. The studio was lovely. His head almost exploded when at the end of the trailer it said directed by Adam Marcus.
Really?
Almost because
Wow.
remember the trailer said the creator of the first returns to bring you the last, Sean S. Cunningham, and then the last credit was directed by Adam Marcus. By the way, I didn't have an agent back then. No one made them do that.
Right.
They did that because New Line had a 3-picture deal with me, which got killed when Ted Turner bought New Line because he got rid of all the horror. But here's the thing, that Sean was 40 when Friday the 13th came out. He had been toiling for years to get taken seriously. He had made a lot of movies by then that nobody knew. His first film was a porn movie that he discovered Marilyn Chambers in, who went to my high school. Noel Cunningham, his son, my best friend, played Marilyn Chambers' love child in the movie Together. He's the baby in the movie, in Sean's first porn film.
Wow.
Then Sean hooks up with Wes Craven and makes Last House on the Left. Which, again, God bless him. Like, it's amazing that he trusted Wes to make that film. Like, that is hardcore. But remember, half the cast in Last House on the Left are porn actors. I mean, you're not seeing a trend here. Sean was that dude, man. He was that guy.
But back then, though, and during that time frame, though, porn stars were seen as legitimate actors. I mean, they were making legitimate movies. They were also
people who were willing to go somewhere in a script that other actors wouldn't go to.
Exactly.
So when you watch Last House on the Left, you go, I get it. By the way, I'm a fan of Last House on the Left. I think it's a fantastic movie. It's not a movie I recommend to people,
right?
But as a filmmaker, I think it's remarkable. Look, Wes.
It's a movie you should see. It's a movie you should see once.
I agree.
Right.
I agree. And look, Wes was, everybody called him Uncle Wes. Like, I grew up with Wes. So, Wes was remarkable. Remember when Wes Craven wrote Nightmare on Elm Street, he brought it to Sean first. And Sean's response to that script was, well, this is stupid. He kills you in your dream? Who's afraid of their dreams? What is this movie? Okay.
Because that was again, it's probably because he was just really burnt out and jaded from being typecast.
No. That was right after Friday the 13th. He was sitting high on the hog. What happened was, again, Sean didn't recognize something as viable unless someone else had done it and made a ton of money doing it. It's why Friday the 13th happened as a reaction to John Carpenter. That's literally what happened. He saw what John did. He saw that spending very little money, knocking people off in a really interesting way with a guy like Tom Savini, that's going to make him money. And again, the producer part of Sean, I have tremendous respect for. That is not that is a very specific skill set.
Yeah.
It's not that he was jaded. I think he was kind of born jaded.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. I would not want to be Sean Cunningham. No thanks. I'll pass.
He's an unhappy person.
That's my takeaway. Again, that's my opinion, and you know, and someone else can tell me I'm wrong and go fuck myself, and that's fine, cool. But I grew up with the guy.
I'm just, you know, I'm sort of, you know, it's something I guess is something I really never really thought about too much, because we definitely know that actors get typecast, actors get jaded and whatnot. I mean, you know, I'm sure there's some directors that are, you know, they're known for directing those type of movies. But when you think of a producer can do all. I mean, I have a buddy of mine who's a producer, and he just recently came back from Thailand, and he produced 3 different movies on 3 different genres within 6 months.
There you go.
Wow.
And so it's like, you know, it's like that to me, that's exciting. You know, if I'm him, I'm happy to get up every morning because there's something new coming up. You know, and then John, you know, it's like the first thing you think of is like, so here's another scary movie, here's another horror movie, here's, you know, like, you know, and he's just, I'm sure there's part of him creatively that's sitting there going like, I don't want to do that. I want to do something different.
But let me tell you something, Patrick. You know, when right after Jason Goes to Hell came out, right, and the movie was financially very successful for New Line, and it was to that date when they put out the VHS of it, it was the single biggest hit New Line had ever had on VHS ever. Because it's the first movie they ever released in an unrated director's cut and the theatrical cut. So the movie did really well. I got offered every movie that had a part number. I got Amityville 97, Pumpkinhead 2, Leprechaun Back 2 to Hood. I mean, I was like the number of movies I was offered, right? I was also offered Scream. But then Wes read it, and I knew, like, I ain't getting this job. That's not going to happen. But here's the thing. I said, I don't want to be a guy who's got a number at the end of every one of his titles.
Right.
I don't want to be that guy. So you know what? I rolled the dice. I took a play that my brother Kip had written. I workshopped it with him until he got a screenplay that we were both really happy with. And I went back to New York and I shot for $200,000. I shot this tiny little indie called Let It Snow. I got the whole Broadway community to help us. I got Bernadette Peters to come out of a self-inflicted 8-year retirement from film to do her first movie in 8 years. I got Stephen Colbert in one of his first movies, Henry Simmons in his first film, Missy Pyle in her first movie.
Oh, wow.
I got like this incredible cast, right? This amazing cast. Shot the movie for nothing. Still a SAG movie, still a union film. And we were a giant international festival hit. I was at Sundance with that movie. And you know why? Because I don't want to be pigeonholed. I don't want to be a guy who only makes horror movies. And you know what? I went and made a movie.
Yeah.
So Sean, by the way, could have financed any movie Sean wanted to make. But he'd have to actually put his own money where his mouth is.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see that. See where you're going.
I had not heard from Sean in 6 years or 5 years at that point, right? And the movie played the LAIFF AFI Independent Festival in LA, and we won a ton of awards. We swept the awards.
Congrats.
We also got a review in the Hollywood Reporter and a review in Variety. The 2 best reviews I've ever gotten in my life. Variety called my movie part Capra, part Sturgis, but a wholly contempo item. And I literally turned to my wife. I said, "You can bury me now. Like, I'm done. I've hit all the goals. I'm done." Actually, if it had just said something Wellesian, if it just said Wellesian in there, I would have been done. But that's the only time Sean Cunningham left a message on my voicemail saying, "Wow, I always knew you would do it. Attaboy." That's it. Only thing that is literally the only phone call I've gotten from Sean since I made Jason Goes to Hell. That's it.
Wow.
But you know what though? Yeah, I don't think I don't think you're the exception, sir. I think that's
I'm not.
probably, yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
By the way, Do you guys know Jimmy Isaac? Did you ever meet Jimmy?
No.
James Isaac directed Jason X.
Jason X, yeah.
And brilliant makeup artist who did all Cronenberg stuff for many years, and Naked Lunch, and
that's actually my favorite Jason movie.
Oh, well, there you go. That's awesome. Okay. Well, by the way, Sean was far worse on Jimmy than he was on me. He was horrible.
Why?
Horrible. And then Jimmy died. And suddenly Sean could say nothing but most wonderful, glowing, sweet.
Wow.
Like, man,
That's horrible.
You're a piece of work, Sean.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, I got to tell you, the people, Todd Farmer and I are friends to this day. He's a terrific guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I feel so bad for the people who worked on Jason X. That was rough. That was rough, man. You talk about a movie that got the short shrift and was treated
that movie's brilliant.
And by the way, if you ever get a chance to read Todd's original script, you're going to be like, oh, you want to go kick somebody, because you're like, why didn't you make the movie that was on the page? Because what was written was unbelievable. It was so good.
Mm-hmm.
It was there. Look, when you have to read scripts, most of them read like stereo instruction manuals. They're not exactly fun to read.
Right.
That script was fun. Like, you're reading stage directions and you're laughing out loud. Mm-hmm. It was just a terrific screenplay. And they were not allowed to make the movie.
Wow.
That's too bad.
That movie's so much fun.
Yeah.
But
I'm telling you, you would love the script even more. You would love the version.
I mean, that movie is just, they got everything right. It was very funny. It had a kick-ass cast, beautiful final girls. I mean, a strong, Uber Jason. I mean, it was just a really fun movie for me. Very much in the same spirit as your movie. Because your movie, that's the thing is, it's fun. Your movie's fun.
Thank you, buddy.
And and it's like how hard it was to actually go that, to come back there and create something like, Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X. I mean, to me, it was just so much more. You had to be more on your toes creatively to do that than you do the reality, Jason.
Thanks.
Right.
So but let me ask you this. I want to talk about this because you mentioned just something just now that really caught my ear, and let's go back to that. Is where'd you learn how to cast? How did you develop your skill for casting?
Well, look, again, I was very lucky because I was raised in the theater, so you learn a tremendous amount about that there, and about actors and acting. One of the things that I do in casting, by the way, this is a little secret. So when I'm casting a movie, a lot of times I'll bring like a tennis ball with me or a Frisbee. And I'll actually, usually in callbacks, not in first run. In callbacks, I'll toss the ball with somebody while they're running lines with me. Right. And I just throw the ball with me. The first thing is it shows you how the actor is making choices and that they're not stuck to a choice, because when you're actively doing something physical, it takes you out of that acting head and suddenly you're just being a person. Okay. Mm-hmm. The other part is if a person can't throw a tennis ball and can't throw a Frisbee, there is a whole world of shit they can't do.
Right.
I don't want to discover that when I'm on set.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. On Jason Goes to Hell, I had an amazing cast director named Barry Moss. Barry was he was a Broadway casting director. So he's a New York guy. He knew every actor, any actor you could drop their name. He knew every single thing they'd ever been in. He had an associate named David Giella, who is a beautiful, beautiful guy. Just great dude. Barry, we lost in 2016. Amazing guy. He was just an older dude at that point. But by the way, you'll all know Barry because Barry cast the entirety of The Cosby Show. Every single episode of The Cosby Show he cast.
Wow.
And do you remember the character Peter, Rudy's friend, who wouldn't talk?
Mm-hmm.
Little boy who wouldn't talk?
Yeah.
Well, there's an episode where Peter's dad comes to pick Rudy up. Peter's dad is a little short guy who won't talk either.
Mm-hmm.
That was Barry. That was Barry Moss, the casting director. He played Peter's dad in the show because he looked kind of like Peter, but as an adult, right? Okay. Here's the thing. I got to watch I got to watch Barry work, and I got to watch David work. There is nowhere near enough respect in our industry for casting directors. They should have an Academy Award. There should be an Academy Award for casting.
I like it. I think they're probably the second most important part of a movie after after an editor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I got to tell you that, the fact that they won't give a casting award, remember, most casting agents are women.
Yeah, that's true.
It is an incredibly sexist thing that they don't have a casting award. By the way, that and stunts. How we do not have Academy Awards for stunt coordinator.
I don't get that at all.
It's like, what do you, the only people that actually put their lives on the line to make a movie, and we're not going to give them an award? Are you out of your, it's so nuts. That being said, I learned to be sensitive to casting and actors through my acting work. And then because I started with the best of the best when it came to casting. And look, I've had my whole career, I've had unbelievable cast. I work with a woman now who's the casting director for my company, for Skeleton Crew, named Kate Engren, who is a brilliant actress herself, but also like just one of the best eyes when it comes to casting. I am blessed in the number of wonderful cast directors I've gotten to work with, and they're the ones who really keep me sharp. The other thing is I see everything. I'm always consuming film. So I know actors, like I just know faces. I know the work. I know who they are. By the way, like I also have like a really solid ear. So when I hear an actor's voice, I immediately know who it is. And it can be like obscure people, but I'm like, that's that. And my wife is always like, holy God, they weren't even on screen yet. You knew who the hell that was. I'm like, it's a thing.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit of a photographic memory.
I get it. I had the same thing with music.
There you go.
I have exactly the same thing. You watch someone ahead of you. For me, my mentor was a lady named Nancy Carlino, and I developed my ear. And pretty soon, when I heard it, I knew it. Like I just knew that's the band.
Yep.
But and it's just really cool to get that. And I was wondering, is that really what it was? Did you have like was there any one particular casting director that you watched to develop your ear? Because when you casted Jason Goes to Hell, pretty much, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Every single role.
You pretty much knew exactly who you were going to pick, and and that's one of the best casts of any of the movies for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'm very proud of all of those actors. They work their butts off. And I also the acting in the Friday the 13th franchise is sort of all over the place. There's some people who are terrific and some people that are like, okay. They all worked hard. So I respect for every actor that's in the franchise, but there are definitely some of the movies where you're like, wow, who was minding the store on this one? That being said, I knew the one thing I could deliver. Actually, the two things I could deliver. The first thing was I knew I could deliver a cast and a level of acting that I hoped had never been gotten to in the franchise. Like I was like, I want these to be real people. Look, when I cast Erin Gray, okay? Erin came in to meet with me. Erin did not want to meet on this movie. She did not want to meet.
I love this.
Yeah. She met only because her son was a lunatic about KNBEFX and about makeup effects in general. So she met with me basically trying to get her son a gig on the movie. Okay? Really what she was trying to do. So I sat and I talked with her about the role, and I said, look, Erin, here's the thing. I said, I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning that let's say you chose to do this movie with me. I said, I would not allow you to have a lot of makeup in this film. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, I would want you really stripped down. I would want the bare minimum of what a woman who's a waitress in this little town would wear to work.
Right.
I said, because here's the thing, Aaron. I feel like everybody so far in your career, or most people in your career, have hired you because you're gorgeous and have not treated you like an actor. They've treated you like a model. I said, I want you to be an actor in my movie. I want a performance.
Yeah.
She signed 5 minutes later.
Very good. Very cool.
Because, I meant what I said. Like, I'm like, and if you watch her in the movie, she's gorgeous, but she looks her age, and she looks like a real woman in that town.
Yeah. Yep. No, I love that story, Adam. I think that's just a really cool story. I mean, you went out there and you appealed to her. You took her seriously as an artist. That wasn't Wilma Deering. It wasn't Models Inc. or whatever she did. She did a
By
model.
the way, do you know why I knew this about her though? And this is actually because of Wilma Deering, which is interesting. So if you watch the pilot of Buck Rogers, right?
Yep. She
is terrible, but the whole cast is terrible. Gil Gerard is definitely above most of the cast in that show. And there's a couple other actors, of course, who do a nice job.
Pamela Hemsley was pretty good, wasn't she? Careful now.
Here's the thing. Wait,
I'm a Darla fan.
Here's the thing. Okay? What's remarkable is that you watch that first 2-hour movie, because it was a movie. The pilot was a movie. You watch episode 2. Erin is better in episode 2.
Sure.
She's better in episode 4. And as you watch that series, she gets better and better and better and better.
Which is really remarkable because Glenn Larson was just like, there wasn't a piece of stock footage he hadn't met that he hadn't fell in love with.
Absolutely. But by the way, most of the rest of the cast did not get better. They stayed with the thing that they were doing, and that's what they did.
Yeah, I don't think they took it seriously.
Right. I mean, she did seriously, and she took it as a chance to get better as an actor. And all I saw in that was I was like, that woman actually cares about her craft.
Right.
That's why I knew I can go with her to a place that is really exciting as an actor and get something that nobody expects out of her. And again, people came to that movie and they were psyched that Erin Gray was in the movie. Like, that was cool.
Right. Yeah.
And then it's like, oh shit, she's the Janet Leigh of the movie. She gets killed 40 minutes of the movie. She's gone.
Wasn't Steven doing 21 Jump Street at the time too?
He had just finished up. And again, Stephen Williams, look, the original casting on Creighton Duke was John Rubinstein, who had played Pippin on Broadway and won the Tony. So I grew up watching John Rubinstein. He was one of my Tony heroes. And so when I met him and he read the part, I was like, oh my God, this is the fucking guy. Like, this is who I want, right? And a few weeks before we're supposed to shoot the movie, his agent pulled him out. His agent, I think, woke up and went, wait a minute, you're doing a Friday the 13th movie with a 23-year-old director? Get out of here. And he pulled him out.
Really?
And Barry and Barry Moss. What?
Now looking back at it, did you call up the agent afterwards and said thank you? Because Creighton Duke. I mean, seriously, Stephen Williams in that role versus John Rubinstein?
Oh, dude. Well, by the way, John Rubinstein, here's the thing. He's
a good actor. He's a great actor.
Creighton was written as our Quint. So Dean Lorey and I were like, Quint is our favorite character in all of cinema. We're like, we need to have a Quint in this movie, right? That was our whole thing. So that's where the whole bounty hunter thing came about. It was like, we want a Quint, right? So originally, John Rubinstein was playing it like this grizzled sort of like, I'm going to go get him, I'm going to bag him, which was great, right? Here's the thing. Barry Moss comes to me and says, Adam, how do you feel about going black? And I said, that's cool.
Yeah.
Who we got? Let's meet some people. So first person I met was Yaphet Kotto, who I loved. But New Line wouldn't let me have Yaphet because he had just been in Freddy's Dead.
Freddy's Dead, yep.
And they didn't want to cross the streams. I was like, okay. So I met with Tony Todd, and I met with Stephen Williams, and I loved Tony. Tony was awesome. Tony was amazing.
Yeah.
But Stephen Williams walked in the door, said 3 lines, and I went, "That's Creighton. That's it."
Oh, wow.
And
that's close to Tony Todd. Wow.
Stephen, here's the thing about Stephen Williams. Stephen Williams is a maniac, like an actual bona fide lunatic. We just came to interview him. We interviewed him for the documentary. My team all showed up at his front door. I was not able to be there that day, so that they went without me. And they get to his front door. They knock on the door. He swings the door open. He has no shirt on. He's got a beer in one hand and a knife in the other. And he goes, and he says, "What the fuck do you want?"
That's fantastic.
Damn.
And my whole team was like,
raising one to Creighton.
And my producing partner Allie went like, "Oh, we're here to interview you for the day." He goes, "Yeah, I know. I'm just fucking with you. Come on." Okay, that is Stephen Williams all day long. He is so freaking nuts, but
That's a good way. In a good way.
I adore him. He's like, he's a maniac and amazing. He's amazing.
Now, let me ask you when you were making this movie, when you were filming this movie, and things got a little bit like, you need some time for yourself. Did you go inside your trailer or wherever you were at? Did you do your art to help you settle down? Did you storyboard your own? Did you storyboard your movie?
No, you know what? I didn't storyboard the movie only because I didn't have time. I had a guy named Jeffrey Lynch, who actually is one of the top directors of The Simpsons for the last 30 years. Jeffrey did my boards. He was amazing. And the storyboards are gorgeous. Oh my God, they're so beautiful. But I have to tell you something. First off, it's adorable that you thought I had a trailer. That's amazing. That's amazing.
You were the director.
Yeah, yeah.
I was hoping I don't know if I didn't know if it was going to be a full length trailer. I didn't know it was going to be an outhouse.
Remember, it was a Sean Cunningham movie. The actors had some trailers. I had nothing. I was lucky if I got a seat at the lunch table. But I will tell you, one of the things, first off, I hate having a trailer. I don't like going, if I'm decompressing while I'm making a movie, I'm in trouble. I'm the guy who truly, there was one time everybody went to lunch and I was trying to figure out the back half of the day and some shots and stuff. And I literally laid down on the sacrificial table in the Voorhees house and just stared up at my set and was like, okay, what am I doing? But that's what I would do is I would decompress maybe that way. Mm-hmm. But you know what, man, when I'm making a movie, there's nothing else for me. Even on my days off, if I have a weekend, I'm still about the movie. So, and it's why, when I finish directing a movie, I go to sleep for a week. Mm-hmm. Because I have to crash completely. Now, I will say this. My most of my life has been spent writing. Mm-hmm. And I do my art. When I'm writing, I have to have my art. So I will spend 6 hours writing, and then I got to go draw for 3 hours or sculpt something for a couple hours. That's where I kind of regenerate my thought process to go back to the work. So yes, you're 100% right. My art is the thing that fuels me without a doubt, but not when I'm shooting. When I'm shooting, I'm so tunnel visioned. I'm like, please, I won't have sex when I'm shooting. Not kidding. Not kidding. My wife gets furious at me. She's like, what the hell, man?
You know what? I guess never mind.
By the way, wait! But I'm telling you, I see it like being a prize fighter. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I gotta have my legs. I gotta have my legs, man. I gotta be in the
raging
ring,
bull, baby, raging bull.
Yes. So when I say I go to bed for a week after the shoot, it isn't just sleeping, but I'm just saying. But
you gotta make up for lost time.
I'll be here all night. More wine with you dinners.
Obviously, because I've been sitting on this since we started talking. Before I give you a couple more serious questions here.
Sure.
So tell us about the casting with Julie.
So Julie was a very interesting, very unnerving piece of casting. Almost every movie I've made, every movie I've made has got nudity in it. God bless it. I love me some nudity. However, I hate shooting nudity. I hate it. There's nothing worse than shooting a sex scene. It's the worst experience ever.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing titillating about it. It's awful. It's awful. And so when I had to cast the role of what ended up becoming Agent Marcus, by the way, that was not her name in the script. That was Sean Cunningham did that to me. Sean Cunningham named her Agent Marcus before the one line that Jimmy Gleason has when he calls her Agent Marcus. They did that on set without me knowing it. So I got to set, I'm shooting that shot, and he says that, and I was like, and the whole cast and crew started cracking up. And Sean was like, that's for calling it Cunningham County. I was like, okay. So anyway, I had to have a woman that was going to be nude in the scene, but also who had to do all the stunts. And so Kane said to me, he says, I know a woman that would be amazing for this. I was like, great. Let me meet her. So here's the thing. When you do a body check, literally the first thing that happens is the person walks in the room and drops trap. So Julie walks into my office. She's got a robe on, and she literally drops the robe. And
why does that happen? Because why does that have to happen? Why? I mean, you've already seen her. She already by that time. I think she already done Roadhouse. So you
but she's not nude in Roadhouse.
Yes, she is. She did a topless.
She's not. She does a strip tease, but she never fully goes. She doesn't go fully topless or bottomless.
She goes topless in Roadhouse. That's what. Yeah, she dances with the hat and she shows off her breath. Right. Yeah, I thought that wouldn't be a good enough resume.
Dude, I'm telling you, this is literally how this is done. You're the person is brought in. You do a full body check. That's just the way it goes. Wow. And look, by the way, I have done movies. I will not say who. I have done movies where I hired someone to do a nude scene. They got on set. I had not done a body check, and the person had full open heart surgery. And suddenly, I've got a scar from here to her belly button.
Wow.
True story.
Damn.
And suddenly I had to figure out how to fix that. And I did. I made it work. And the actor is extraordinary and I love her. But I did not know that. And I was like, my makeup artist, my costumer came to me and was like, Adam, we have an issue. I was like, oh, no, that's a problem. And it is a problem. It is a problem. There's a technical side to stuff like this. There just is.
Tattoos are hard to. I mean, not everybody has tattoos.
Ooh. Man, I got to tell you, one of the things that I do is in LA is that ever since Jason Goes to Hell, I've been running an acting studio for the last 30 years. And I work with almost 60 actors a week that are part of the Skeleton Crew troupe of actors. And one of the things that I beg them, constantly begging them, and millennials in particular, where I'm like, guys, stop with the tattoos. You want to be an actor? Stop. You gotta stop. Because it makes it harder and harder for us to work with you. Because look, I have one student who had a lot of friends on Sons of Anarchy, and amazing actor. This guy's fantastic. He's in Gone Girl. He's one of my dudes. A guy named Ricky Wood. Well, he had full sleeves, right? Problem is, he has the wrong ink. So when they met him on Sons of Anarchy, they were like, "We love you. We would love to hire you. We can't afford to pay to cover up your ink, and you don't have prison ink. You don't have biker ink. You have, douchey McDoucherson ink." Like, we can't use that ink, you know? And it's a real problem. Like, it is really tough. That being said, Julie was stunning. I was like, I wanted to hide under a desk because I was so like embarrassed because I'm having to do a body check on a human being.
Well, thank you for that, Adam. You know, no. I'm serious. Thank you because I'm sure that probably what did make you feel uncomfortable.
It was awful. I hate it. Everything around. Look, I
just couldn't imagine how awkward that would be.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful. And by the way, nudity is a part of filmmaking. I get it. And look, there are times when things are going to be sexy and you want things to, look a certain way and shoot a certain way and all of that. It's a necessary evil, I guess. But it doesn't make it any nicer. By the way, Julie could not have been more like cool about it and whatever. She didn't care.
Right.
That said,
she seems like she's just a really dynamic, person.
You couldn't meet a better person. You just couldn't meet a better, more lovely, sweeter, kinder person. So she and I, I book her for the role. I read her the couple lines she had. She didn't have a lot to say. But Kane told me she's, one of the best when it came to stunts. Like she really knew her shit. And we talked about some of the things, the car roll, when she does the slide over the top of the car and all that stuff. And so we'd really mapped everything out. She was willing to do it. She could do the high fall onto the table and all of that. Great. Yeah. So we're on set. And
now has she been going? Has she committed to being a full-time stunt person at that time? Or was she just transitioning?
She was an actor who did action. She was an actor who did stunts.
Okay.
So I knew her as an actor, but I knew she could do all the stunt work that I needed. It was heavy-duty stunts. It wasn't like little stunts. They were big stunts.
Right.
So one of the things she had to do was the run. You guys remember when she's running through the woods away from Jason. Well, the way we shot that is it's called the round and round, which is the easiest way to shoot someone running through the woods. Here's the thing. You guys remember like the old Flintstone cartoons? How Fred would run and the background's
always the
same background over and over again. Okay, we do the exact same thing for running through the woods. So what we do is we put the camera in one spot, right? Especially when you don't have a steady cam or anything to shoot with. I had a steady cam on this movie, but only for one scene. So we put the camera in one spot. We dig like a path, right, around the camera in a 360, but probably about 8 to 10 feet away from the camera, right? So you have this long path that's been dug out around the bramble and trees. There's trees and everything there, right? You put some trees in front between the camera and the subject. And then all you do is have them run in a circle and you just turn the camera and you go 360 with them. No one ever has any idea that you're passing the same trees. They have no idea. Okay?
See, that's amazing. That's like a simple trick just the fact that like it's kind of inspired by the Flintstones. You know what I mean? I absolutely love that.
Yep.
Now, as soon as this interview is over with, we're all going to dash out and turn that one scene on, going like for the right.
Do it. Totally do it. It's the same group of trees over and over again. Here's the thing. So Julie, we did a couple of runs with it. We're checking the gate, and I said, Julie, I need another one. I need to go closer on you. She's like, no problem, boss. So she starts to walk away, and as she does, I see she's kind of limping on one foot, and I'm watching. And I see something on the ground, something dark on the ground. It's night, but I'm like, Julie, honey, why aren't you wearing the booties that we gave you? She goes, oh, I don't need them. I'm good. I said, Julie, stop. Show me your feet. Oh, I'm fine, honey. I'm good. I'm good to go. I said, Julie, show me your feet.
She got herself.
She lifted up her feet. Her feet were shredded.
Wow.
Okay. And I said, Julie, that's why we gave you the booties. No one gets hurt on my set. I walked over. I lifted her up off of her feet. And I walked her to medical. Okay. And for the rest of the scene, she wore the booties.
She's badass, though, Adam.
Oh, dude, without a doubt. By the way, she's holding on to me while I'm walking her, and she just starts to sob in my arms. And I was like, what? What? You okay? And she goes, no, just no one has ever treated me this well on set before. And I was like, well, sweetie, you need to demand that everybody treats you this well because this is just being a human being. You're my actor. I'm not letting you get hurt, and I'm not going to make you walk to medical. No, this is the way it goes. So after we did the interview for her, and I will not tell you the story of what this movie did for her because you got to see it in the documentary. It's
right.
Good. But at the end of the interview, she came out in a towel so I could pick her up again. So we recreated, and she was very funny because she's like, "You're going to hurt yourself." I'm like, "Stop it, Julie." I'm like, "Oh my God, what have you gained? 3 ounces since then?" And she like hits me, and I picked her right up off her feet. She was like, "Oh my God."
That's
like,
cool.
Yeah, of course, honey, of course. So no, Julie is.
Like I said before the beginning of this interview, she's got to be one of the most interesting stories I've ever heard because I mean, she had the acting chops, she had the look, could have been a leading star, she could have been a major star, and yet
instead she's won Emmys for being a badass stunt woman.
Yeah,
and it goes to show that if you wouldn't have said anything, she still would have done it barefoot.
You bet.
No one.
You bet. But I am very, very serious about safety on my set.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What are some of the lessons that you? I mean, you're looking back at your career, and you here you are today. And do you reflect upon this very much, especially when you're making your documentary about Jason Goes to Hell? Do you ever look back and just think of what you would have done differently? Like, can you give us a couple of instances of what if you had to do it all over again, knowing what you know today? You had to do it again. Go back and correct it. If you had to correct 3 things or 5 things from when you did the movie or your theater work or whatnot, what are some of the things you would have changed or told your younger self to do?
I would have told my younger self that there was an effect I wanted to do where when people started to deteriorate, when people would their bodies would come apart because the evil was so toxic in their bodies, when the whole melting man thing. Originally, I wanted the hockey mask, to start breaking through people's faces. And at the time, it was there was no digital, so we couldn't do it that way. But I would have forced K&B to figure out how to make that happen, because I think simply by creating the mask coming through people's faces more in the film, I think suddenly a lot of the haters of Jason Goes to Hell would not hate Jason Goes to Hell. When I talk to haters of the movie, it always boils down to, you blew Jason up and I didn't get as much hockey mask as I wanted. And I get it. Like, I get it. That's what you want. I got it. And so I would have corrected that a little bit. Look, I was offered 2 jobs out of college when I won Best Picture at NYU. I was offered to be Sean's bitch for a year and he would give me my shot. And I was also offered the chance to write on season 2 of Twin Peaks.
Oh.
Wow.
That's a choice I would have made differently.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah.
But I got to tell you, look, I think when we look back on stuff, I think it's real easy to talk about the things that we would have. Oh, there's that beautiful cat.
It's cheating.
I think there's a lot of things. I think being regretful of things that we do in our lives, as long as nobody's been hurt. I think being regretful of things is foolish. And I don't think it makes anything better. I was told 2 things from a lawyer that I had. The first lawyer I had in this business was a guy named Peter Deckham, who was Martin Scorsese's lawyer at the time. He's an amazing lawyer, brilliant guy. Peter Deckham gave me 2 pieces of advice. 1, never marry an actress. Well, I failed at that one. My wife is an actress. 2, never make a movie you don't believe in. You have to be passionate about every film you make. I've only made 1 movie in my career that I wasn't passionate about, and I was miserable, and I was wrong for making it.
What movie was that, Adam?
It's a movie I wrote and directed called Conspiracy that Val Kilmer is the star of. Val is a monster. I don't care how sensitive his scene in Top Gun is. He's a bad guy. He's a mean prep school bully. He's a jerk. I don't know. One night he sexually harasses women. He assaulted me on day 6, a 25-day shoot. He's a bad dude. He's a bad guy. So, and the self-serving documentary that him and his kid made does not cover for anybody who's ever worked with him. We all know who he is. We all know what he does. He's a bad person. So,
you would like to think that over the years, when you become younger and you're full of fire and vinegar, like he was back then, you would like to think that as he gets older, that all gets worked out of him, and he becomes a more humane person, a more an older actor, older mature person. So it's disappointing to hear that, but
yeah,
you got to work with them up close and personal, so
I way too up close, quite frankly. And the amount of alcohol abuse and drug abuse and crap I had to deal with on a daily basis with this guy was maddening. And anyway, that film, I was very proud to write that screenplay. I loved the script. I didn't want to make the movie. I didn't want to direct the film. I got talked into it by my agent, who was also pulling a scam at the time. And this is one of the biggest agencies in our business. That's me not looking out for my best interest, and I think that's a mistake when people do that. That being said, I'm glad I made the movie because I hired 26 of my actors in that movie that all did incredible work. I got to work with Jennifer Esposito, who is an angel and a remarkable actor. I got to work with Gary Cole, who's one of the best people I've ever worked with in my life. So look, even an experience that is, rather negative and that has a lot of that people can look back on in a regretful way, I still look at it as I had an opportunity to work with brilliant artists. I got to direct great actors, and I got to tell a story that I wrote, that I was responsible for. So there's always positives to look at. And look, my wife wrote that script with me. She did a beautiful job, and she's in the movie, and she's fantastic in the film. I'm in the film opposite Val in a bunch of scenes. And, so there's I think you can find positive in anything that you would tend to go regretful on. I don't believe in regrets. Again, as long as nobody is hurt. If you hurt people, you need to regret that.
Yeah. See, that's one thing I gotta say about you, Adam. And this isn't the Jason Goes to Hell fanboy coming out. Like you're right. You always find the positives, and you're proud of your work. That's one thing we can all say that we've seen you in interviews. You are legit proud of Jason Goes to Hell, even its faults. You know what I mean? That's what I love about you is you know that Voorhees is misspelled on the mailbox. You make a joke of that when you were promoting the documentary, and that shows how genuine you are. When you're not just, hey, I'm going to promote this movie to make a fucking buck. You know what I mean?
Nope.
And that's what I think is really cool about you when people see you in interviews, dude.
By the way, we found out why Voorhees was misspelled on that mailbox. I will not tell you because it's literally the dead last thing of the documentary. But there is a whole line of haters that need to kiss my ass in Macy's window over that story. When they told me, when we got the answer, when we figured out why it happened, tears of actual joy. I was like, vindicated at last. It's amazing. By the way, cool. The idea that anyone thinks that a director actually paints Voorhees on the mailbox, or that a first unit director, that the director of the movie shoots the insert of a mailbox, has no idea how movies get made. But when you find out why it's spelled Voorhees, oh my God.
Was it a set? Was it somebody from the set design that did it? I mean, that's what I thought.
Again, I'm not going to tell you. Not even a slight. There's no clues because it's so shocking. It's so shocking. I'm telling you, all of the haters are going to be like, "Oh shit."
You know what? I mean, I think Eric can probably back this up or not. I mean, let me ask this question because I want to ask you about a couple of other things, slightly off topic.
Sure.
But when you do you feel now like it's like when there's people who have talked. I didn't really understand that because me and Al, my buddy the Bat, who's right above you, when we did a deep dive on our Friday the 13th, we went through every movie and we talked about it, and everything. And quite honestly, I heard people were sitting there going like, "Oh, people really like Jason Goes to Hell." I'm like, really? Why? I really didn't understand it because I saw it at the theater.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it at the theater. And I remember sitting with the theater and the scene where it comes up where King comes up there and grabs as Freddy grabs the mask.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody there was just up in arms. They were sort of going like, "Hell yeah!"
Mm-hmm.
They're all. I mean, as I'm in mass. I always liked because Stephen Williams was in it because I said that's Captain Fuller from 21 Jump Street. When I saw him, well, that's Captain Fuller. That was back then. So I'm like, that's Stephen Williams, Creighton Duke.
I was a kid of the 80s, and Billy Greenbush shows up. I'm like, that's the dad from Critters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sitting there going like, well, I didn't know about Julie till much later, obviously, but I'm sitting here going like, this is awesome. I had so much affection for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, and then I heard people going like, yeah, they don't like it too much. And I'm like, why? It's a Friday the 13th movie. What's not that? I mean, even they're fun movies. I mean, I don't care. I can see why someone maybe not liking it for certain aspects of it.
Sure.
But to actually sit there and say, yeah, your movie sucks. I would sit there and say, why would you say something so inane as that? Because
there's a guy on YouTube. Okay, what happened was the movie had a divided audience. Absolutely, when the movie came out, absolutely. But it had a ton of people who loved that movie, right? There was, I mean, I had to go everywhere and sign autographs. For years, right? All positive, all wonderful. Every once in a while, you'd meet some guy who was a jerk, and that's fine, and you can say what you want and have your opinion. Cool. The problem is that when the internet came about, and there was a guy on YouTube who made a video how New Line destroyed the Friday the 13th franchise. And this guy came hard for this movie. Hard. Okay? And for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the wave happened. That's where it all started, where it got really ugly, where people started wishing me ass cancer.
I can imagine.
It's crazy, dude. I mean, people told me I raped their childhood, and I mean, horrible shit. I got death threats.
Jeez.
And it's all because of this douche on YouTube who has never made anything. He just criticizes other people's work. And again, in this day and age where everybody is, conspiracy theorist and has an axe to grind, suddenly they create a big problem for people and create a shitstorm in your life. So yes, that happened. Here's the thing that's great. Last year, almost a year ago to now, it was the last Friday the 13th, which was August 13th of last year, which was 28 days to the day that the movie came out. In Los Angeles, the American Cinematheque honored Jason Goes to Hell. Cool. It was the first movie when we came out of COVID, out of lockdown. When they put the movie up for tickets on their site, the site crashed because of the number of people who went to get tickets.
Nice.
We weren't just sold out. We had a line around the block for people waiting in case someone didn't come to get their ticket. It was crazy. Like, I got to the theater, I was like, what is happening? I was there till 2:30 in the morning signing autographs.
That's awesome.
And they showed the 35 millimeter theatrical print of the movie. So, by the way, it's not even the uncut. Like, people sat there for the lame version of my movie where they took out all the cool shit, right? And the audience was amazing, and they went nuts for it. I mean, just nuts. And by the way, we shot all this stuff. It's in the documentary, this
Cool.
event. But I got to tell you, like, the movie has become a cult film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's become this film that people are really, really affectionate towards. And you know what? You hear a lot of people talking about part 3 anymore, or part 5, or part 7, or part 8. Nope. They're talking about Jason Goes to Hell. The anger over that movie, the battle. I love the haters.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I love the haters so much that for the documentary, we've got, a thank you credit. So for like $20, you can just have a thank you at the end of the credit, end of the movie for helping us out. I was like, hey, every person who hates my movie owns at least 3 copies of the movie.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yes. Double, triple. Everybody. I'm sure. How many copies do you own, Eric and Al? How many copies do you own?
Honestly, I got 3. I got the VHS, the DVD, and the Blu-ray.
There you go.
How about you, Al?
I have 2. I have the DVD and the VHS. Yeah.
Nice. By the way, the Scream Factory box set is.
I got that.
It's the shit. Like, it's so
good.
Good.
Right here.
It is so good. But here's the thing. I said, okay, we're missing an untapped audience. I said, I want us to have a perk on the site that is the fuck you perk. If somebody wants to tell me to go fuck myself, I will put a list of fuck you at the end of the film of all the people who want to tell me to go fuck myself. $20. We've gotten a lot of people to buy that perk.
I bet. I can imagine.
And I got to tell you something. Not only are they going to buy the perk and give me $20, by the way, you can tell me to go fuck myself for free, but they do it. They're paying for it, right? Okay. But
Smart.
they are then going to buy a copy of the documentary because their name is on it.
Exactly.
God bless you. I get you coming and going.
Yep.
When will the documentary be out?
The documentary will be out for next year for the 30th anniversary of the movie.
Perfect. I was going to ask. I'm so excited.
Eric, do you want to ask him and see if he's read any of the books by Dan Fox?
No, I'm not going to. Inside joke. Yeah.
Because I was going to give you the chance to talk about Dan if you wanted to.
No. Inside joke. We'll leave it at that.
By the way, not only now we have 43 people from the original film that are interviewed in this doc. 43.
Wow.
But I literally today got Stephen Culp to come back and do an interview.
Cool.
One of the last cast members that I had to get, and I got him today.
Amazing.
Just before I got on the phone with you, I got on this with you guys. I just got off the phone with Stephen. He agreed to be in it. We're shooting him in 2 weeks.
That's awesome. Cool. We still got a few minutes here, and if people want to drop some questions, I think there was one question that Craig asked.
Yeah.
I want to go ahead and ask. He wanted me to ask you if your house is still like a warehouse.
Well, that's hilarious. He's right. It is. It's like a freaking warehouse in here because of the amount of crap that we keep sending out to everybody who gives money to the doc. Truly, during COVID, that's all I did. Like I just wrapped packages to send out to fans who had given us money for the doc.
Did you have to stop production because of COVID, or were you still
able
able
to? Oh, no, dude.
Yeah.
We were shut down. We were shut down for over a year and a half.
That sucked because I was following you on, I think it was like your personal Facebook, because we're in like the Jason Goes to Hell Facebook, and you were doing updates weekly, and then suddenly, boom.
we literally we
shot like right after you interviewed Rusty or something.
We shot 33 interviews in a month and a half.
Yeah.
We finished. We were going to have the doc out 1 year from the moment we started the campaign. It was like we were ready to go, and the world ended. And look, guys, out here, I mean, I know a lot of the country opened up earlier and got back to more business as usual. Los Angeles actors, our industry, we're still doing COVID tests to be on set. We're still wearing masks.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, Yeah, you would think that. I can't tell you how many actors I've talked to that actually were shooting during COVID, and I'm like, how would you do? How could you do that? But you couldn't do that. A documentary, you could not do
No.
that.
We're
You
coming
could
into
not.
people's
Not
homes.
if you want to do the documentary right. I mean, you could have sat there and did a Zoom, but you know what? I wouldn't have
No,
been good.
I
That
won't
wouldn't
do it. I will not do it. I won't
No,
do Zoom. I won't do it.
no,
No.
that's not a documentary.
No,
Uh,
we're shooting. Everything is in 4K or 6K at least. It looks gorgeous, and it's. I'm sorry, the intimacy of being with these people. That's part of the whole thing.
I was going to ask, you're in person with them with the interviews?
Yeah. We
Very
shot
cool.
with Kane in his house. We shot with Stephen Williams in his house. I mean, please. My producer flew to Chicago to be with Rusty Schwimmer, to be there live with her.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Talk to us a little bit, if you will, if you don't mind. We might go over a few minutes tonight, fella, in the chat. I also want to let the chat know. So go ahead and drop some questions down, and we'll get those out to Adam. Talk to us about your writing process. I mean, let's just say that you got a script that you like, or better yet, you got an idea in your head. And do you write your ideas down in books? I mean, you ever lay in bed and you're just tossing and turning with an idea?
I send myself emails constantly. Constantly sending myself emails. That's one of the things I love about the movie studio in your pocket, is that I'm constantly able to have an idea or a thought or a dream or any of that, and immediately I send myself something, so that in the morning I wake up to like a series of notes that then I can immediately put into what I'm working on.
You don't forget.
No, I won't. I can't. And I'm telling you, there have been times at 4:00 in the morning when I'm like, oh, I'll remember. And it's like, no, you moron, you won't remember. Wake your ass up. Let's go. And I will write the email. My wife wants to kill me at those moments, but it's the way. And then she's happy I did in the morning. So,
I mean, where's the best thing? Where's the best part for you to generate your ideas from? Like to think it out. Is it in front of a keyboard, or is it sculpting? Is it walking? I mean, where do you work on an idea to flesh it out? What's your best method to bring it out?
For
forward?
me, I have a writing process that look, I do. By the way, I walk about 6 miles a day. Right, that's just sort of part of my life. And I roll phone calls, and I do a lot of thinking in that time. That's when I'm since I was a kid, I read when I walk. I know that sounds insane, but I will literally have a book open while I'm walking and read. So a lot of my thought process is that. The other thing is, yes, the art is one of the best places to do any kind of creative thinking of any other kind. Because you can kind of get in this Zen place, and it just opens you up creatively. But I sit in front of a computer every day for at least 3 hours every day. And on a good day, I'll sit there for 9 hours because I'm writing. I am a self-editor like nobody's business. So I will usually write the first pass of a scene, and then Deborah will get the scene to work on. But she will not get my first pass. She gets my 5th pass. So I beat myself up, and I have a series of rules that I live by for my writing that I rarely break. They're mostly William Goldman's rules, but they're incredibly helpful. And he was my North Star as a writer. He's just... There will never, like, I know a lot of people love Patty Chayefsky or Aaron Sorkin, and I love those guys too, or Rod Serling or Ira Levin. For me, Goldman, nobody figured it out better than he did. There's a way that no matter what genre you dropped him into, whether it's Marathon Man or Misery or The Princess Bride,
Magic, that's a great
Magic. Or Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, where you just go, this guy worked in every genre and figured out how to make character and dialogue as character action mean more than him.
Yep.
And so I live with Goldman's rules. And so I will seriously rewrite something 5 or 6 times before my writing partner even gets to look at the first pass. So our first drafts tend to read like 5th or 6th drafts. That's just kind of the way I work.
Mm-hmm.
But the process is different for every script. You know, when during the pandemic, we wrote 700 pages. We wrote 10 episodes of a new TV series that we're doing, and wrote it in 5.5 months. And you know, I've never written that much in my life. Like, it was insane.
Mm-hmm.
It was my first 1,000-page year. And it was during the pandemic because I was like, I am not going to let this thing stop who I am creatively. Like, the world can stop. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to keep pushing the ball uphill. I'm going to keep doing this.
Very cool.
Very cool. Let's see. Craig here mentions, does Adam also own different versions of the film in VHS from different countries?
I
That's
do. I
Yeah.
do. I actually have several of them from around the world, but I also have the television edit on its own in its own DVD. I have a work print edit in its own DVD. Like, I've got a lot of like the kind of shit that you get on the internet that somebody's
Mhm.
like, and I will actually go to them and go, hey, listen, I'm not going to bust you. I don't care that you have it. Just send me a copy. So as long as someone sends it to me, I don't care.
That's cool.
I'm not the studio. I'm fine.
Right.
Thank you, T. Betty. She says this has been a fantastic interview.
Oh,
I
that's lovely.
hope we surprised you with not the usual 6 boring questions.
You did not. You did not.
Adam, I just want to say, is this the first interview you've had where we brought up the Flintstones with Jason Goes to Hell?
Yes, with the
There you go.
Flintstones. Yes, I have talked a lot about Scooby-Doo in reference to Jason Goes to Hell,
Mm-hmm.
but not the Flintstones. But Scooby-Doo does figure into Jason Goes to Hell. It
Mhm.
does.
Yeah, Scoop does the same thing. Harley mentions, hell yes, Adam Marcus is the GOAT. All right. That's very cool. Very
That's
cool.
very sweet.
Uh,
Thank you, Harley. Yes.
oh yeah, we know. We've been talking about that with him, Harley, about him being an amazing artist.
Mm-hmm.
How did you? Where did you get the idea of doing an acting studio? Is that? I mean, how is that? Because students generally, when they get taught, they're being taught by actors. You know, actors will teach other actors how to act.
Mhm.
Is it pretty unusual for a director to teach actors how to act?
No, it depends on the director. Like Kat Shea is an acting coach in Los Angeles. She does great work. From Poison Ivy, you guys remember Kat Shea, right? The director. Anyway, but like Sidney Pollack taught acting, and Sidney Pollack learned acting from Sanford Meisner, who is also one of my gurus. Here's the thing. I was an actor in New York when I was a kid. So my whole family are actors, and I was running a theater company from the time I was 15. But I had an amazing mentor, again, in the public school system in Westport, a guy named Al Pia, who was a Broadway director who made his life after, working on the stage. He made his life as a theater instructor, and he ran 5 different theaters in Connecticut. And Al, when I was 11 years old, he saw how serious I was. He handed me a copy of An Actor Prepares, Stanislavski's book on acting. Mm-hmm. And he said, read chapter 1, come back tomorrow, and we'll talk about it. And I was 11 years old. And I went and read this Russian lunatic's stance on acting, read the first chapter, came back the next day, and I said, I have no idea what I just read. And he sat down with me and he went through page by page what all of it meant. And by the end of that summer, I had read that book and I comprehended that book. And that man became, the most important force in my life creatively. until he passed, in my 30s. And he taught me the respect for acting and for that craft. And so, by the way, here's the problem with actors teaching actors acting. They're almost always in competition with the actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of failed actors who teach acting, and that's fine. Some of them are great teachers. Don't get me wrong. Some of them are fantastic teachers. The reason why Sanford Meisner is kind of my guru when it comes to actors. Sandy Meisner was an actor in New York. He was at the top of his game. He was one of the top paid Broadway actors in the business. He left acting at the top of his game because he had a calling to teach. He said, I need to teach.
Mm-hmm.
Years later, Sandy Meisner had a tracheotomy and lost his ability to speak naturally. So he had to belch his words.
Mm.
He continued teaching for 20 years.
Wow.
Belching his words. And if you guys have never seen it, there's an amazing documentary that Sidney Pollack directed about Sanford Meisner. And you will see him live. I think you can even see it on YouTube. But you will see him belching directions for actors in their process. And at first you're like, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. And after about 3 minutes, you completely forget that that's
you don't
how
notice
he's
it
communicating, because he's so wise and he's such a beautiful teacher. And for me, I think that everybody who's a professional in our industry should at some point teach. Look, I think everybody should teach. I think if you're an electrician, at some point in your life, you should teach others how to be an electrician.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only way that people become great at things is if they're taught by people who are great at things.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, teaching is in my blood. It's one of the things that I love most. And my actors they're like family to me. I mean, I love my actors. So.
Last round of questions. Al, you got any questions? You've been quiet up there. You got any questions for Adam?
I'm actually interested in how you got involved with Texas Chainsaw.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And like, were there any limitations that they gave you guys? I'm sure there were quite a few.
So, Deborah and I were represented by Evolution Entertainment, which is a management company out here in LA. It's no longer; they've folded up. But we had two wonderful managers there, and that was also the house of Twisted Pictures. Evolution was Twisted Pictures. So there was a producer who worked for Twisted, who Deb and I were his two favorite writers in the industry. He was trying to get another one of our films made, a movie called Gravity that was on the blacklist that ended up becoming Momentum, which is a movie that we did a few years ago that Deb and I wrote and produced, that Morgan Freeman, Olga Kurylenko, and James Purefoy are the stars of. Anyway, so this guy was a huge fan of Deb and mine, and he came to us and said, hey, we're doing Texas Chainsaw over at Lionsgate. I was like, oh, that's cool. He said, I'd really love you guys to write it. I said, that'd be great. He goes, but we're about to fire Steven Susko, so you got to wait until we do that. I was like, oh, shit. Okay, cool. Now, I'd never met Steven up to that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he said, yeah, he wrote a couple drafts, but, we hate the script, and you guys can't even see the script. Like, they won't even let you look at it. I was like, okay. So he said, what would you do with a Texas Chainsaw movie? Was like, all right, well, let's see.
Mm-hmm.
So first we came with an idea that was someone from the Sawyer family is kidnapped, a girl who doesn't know she's in the Sawyer family, much the way our movie opens, right?
Mm-hmm.
A little baby is kidnapped. 18 years later, that girl is in Chicago at the Chicago Art Institute. Her boyfriend, kind of a douchey, but, handsome guy, invites her down to his parents' place in Mexico for spring break. They have this beautiful house and, estate and blah, blah, blah. So they all go to Mexico for this thing. But what he hasn't told her is that he's actually running drugs out of Mexico to Chicago, this kid. And when they get there, the drug cartel takes them hostage. Takes the whole group of kids hostage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the telex that these people have been kidnapped, there is something on this girl that someone in the law enforcement in Texas, in the town where the Sawyers live, this guy recognizes it. That's our kin. So he goes and gets Leatherface and the rest of the family.
Mm-hmm.
They hop in the truck, Beverly Hillbilly style, and they go to Texas, or they go to Mexico to get their kin back.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes Leatherface versus Scarface.
Nice.
So it was a way to make the Sawyers sort of the heroes of the piece,
Mm-hmm.
And to have this sort of like clash of cultures over the Texas border. That was the original idea. Okay,
Interesting.
thank you. I loved it. I was like Leatherface versus Scarface. Come on now. So the producer was like, "Yeah, you got any other ideas?" I was like, "Yeah." So we pitched what ended up being Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And so he loved that pitch. So we wrote up a couple pages, right? The next thing we know, that guy, that producer, and Lionsgate has taken that 2-page pitch that we had written and handed it to 17 other writers.
Oh, what?
Our pitch, our story.
Wow.
How do they do that legally?
Because they can. Hello, welcome to Hollywood. Lionsgate, by the way, Lionsgate did not know it was our pitch. They had no idea. They had not been told that.
Mm-hmm.
The producer just handed it to Lionsgate, and then Lionsgate goes, "This is great," and the producer was trying to take credit for our work.
Wow.
So they sent it out to 17 other writers. So we're told we have to come and pitch the movie that we came up with. So we go up against some of the biggest horror writers in our industry, and we win the job. The reason we won the job is that not only did we have like an amazing 15-page treatment and a great pitch in the room, because, we came up with the damn thing, but we wrote the first 11 pages of the screenplay. We wrote the entire conflict at the Sawyer house. And there was one shot in that first 11 pages. It's not in the movie, but in the screenplay where there's a baby, the Alexander Daddario's character as an infant is suckling on her mama's breast. And as she's doing that, the camera pulls out to reveal that the mom has a gun pointed outside the window, and she like shoots 2 guys in the head.
That would have been
while
perfect.
the baby is nursing. Okay. So that shot alone, I think, got us the job. So we get a call that, that it's our movie, which was amazing. And I have to say, Lionsgate, best studio I've ever worked for.
Very cool.
They were awesome.
How did they find out what this guy had done to you?
Eventually they did. And they actually stuck up for us. Lionsgate ended up not producing the movie because this producer was so impossible to work with. They told him, "We're going to put the movie out. We'll release the movie, but you go find the money elsewhere. We're not making this movie with you." And then this guy tried to steal credit on our script. And we had to have a trial at the Writers Guild, and he went to Lionsgate and tried to get them to falsify the document and put his name on it.
Wow.
And Lionsgate and our manager called us and was like, "This is what he's trying to do." And the Writers Guild literally threw this guy out of the building at the end of the trial. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
It was unbelievable.
Nice.
He got kicked out of the guild.
The what?
He got kicked out of the.
Wasn't in the guild. He's not in the Writers Guild. He was trying to steal writing from writing clients that were in the guild. It was unbelievable. But by the way, the director and a friend of his, Kristen Elms, rewrote the script before they shot the movie, which is a whole long story. And in our screenplay, there was no smartphone because the movie took place in 1993. Do you know how I know it took place in 1993? In our version of the screenplay, in the town square at the local cinema, Jason Goes to Hell is playing.
Now, was this in Cunningham County?
Yeah, exactly. The other thing is we did not write the line "Do your thing," because there's one other thing we didn't do. We didn't have a girl from Chicago go to Texas and say to someone from Texas, "Welcome to Texas, motherfucker." We didn't write that either. That was not something we wrote because that's not something that happens in real life.
Right.
No.
Right.
So, but that is how we got involved in Texas Chainsaw. And I will tell you, look, I mean, I'm really honored that we got to be a part of that franchise. Like I love that franchise. I also like that I'm the second Marcus to be involved with both Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw, because Marcus Nispel and I both have that. We both share that distinction. Yeah. And Marcus is a really, really sweet guy.
What did you think of his remake?
I actually really like that remake. I will say one thing, and I really do like that remake. I think that movie gets a lot of shit, and I don't think it deserves any of it.
It doesn't.
The one thing I will say that I don't like, and I don't like this about all modern horror, but it starts there. The greatness of the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the great thing about that movie is that is the ugliest group of people you can shove in a van. Okay? That is a motley looking group of kids. Why that's great is that every person in the movie theater felt like they knew all of those people.
Yep.
Or they felt like they were one of those people.
Yep.
Like the hot girl in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you're like, yeah, I date her, I guess. I don't know. But I mean, that's the hot girl. Okay.
Right.
You go back to the Marcus Nispel remake and you go, did an Abercrombie and Fitch catalog throw up? What is this? Yeah. It's like every person in the van is like more gorgeous than they're all models.
Yeah.
And I just kind of go, there's something great about a guy like Franklin. Yes, you hate Franklin. Sure. Everybody hates Franklin. Who doesn't hate Franklin? But you know what? You know Franklin. Yep. You know that dude. Yep. I never met a Jessica Biel in high school. Never. And I went to a great looking high school.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, it did. We actually commented on that when we did our review. Is that it did seem like the cast was straight out of Central Casting. It was just
wow, they are so beautiful. My God. I mean, by the way, they're all very good actors. I'm not saying anything negative about their work. Their work is good. They're all really good. It's just you get to a point where like, man, do you ever want the audience to feel like they're in the movie? Mm-hmm. Let us be in the movie. Like that's
what made Friday the 13th, the first one, so relatable. Was
totally.
Because, they were just anybody. They could have been. You would never give them a second look.
It's why Jamie Lee Curtis is still the queen of horror. Jamie Lee Curtis, by the way, who can be smoking hot in a movie? Don't get me wrong, please. True Lies all day.
Yep.
But here's the thing: Jamie Lee Curtis looked like an average high school girl. She wasn't the prom queen. She was just the normal girl that you might not look at all, or that you might have a crush on because she's kind of the girl next door.
That was the appeal.
PJ Souls was the hot one of that trio, but those girls were all attainable. They were they were girls that you were like, oh, I want to know that girl or be her friend, or I want to have sex with that girl. But there was never that sense of like, wow, they're hot. No, man. Like the dudes in that movie are all kind of awkward. It's real life. And Kevin Bacon is the prettiest human being in Friday the 13th. For God's sakes. Like he's so much prettier than all the girls. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And by the way, isn't it hilarious that you see his ass more than anything else, anybody else's body in that movie?
Yep.
I'm like,
Very
Sean, wow, you really like looking at Kevin's ass, didn't you, buddy?
Well, he also had that close up of him in the Speedo too,
Sure did. Sure did.
and it was right there. He wasn't hiding it.
God bless Kevin Bacon. God bless.
Let's see. Real quick here. Harley's mentioning he still loves the line "Do your thing, cuz." No matter
God
what.
bless. Kristen
Yeah.
Elms gets all that credit. I won't take 1 ounce of that credit. That's hers.
I wouldn't either.
That is her line.
Yep. Franklin was annoying but very relatable. Mr. Bones going Sally. Yep. I was so netty and Friday the 13th. Yep. Original. Yep. Jamie Lee Curtis. Thumbs up. That's a great. Yeah, you're right. Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah. I guess it's how she's filmed, how she looked. You know, she could be just the everyday girl, or she could be pretty glamorous.
Absolutely. And she's a real woman. There's nothing about her feels phony. She feels like a real person, and that's what we connect to.
Yeah.
That's when horror is at its best. Horror is at its best when we look. You watch The Hills Have Eyes, the original Hills Have Eyes, and you're like, my God, I know this family. I know who these people are. That's scary.
Yep.
No, I agree with that. I think when the casting is more relatable, when it does take you into the story. You know, when the people are not always beautiful and perfect.
Yep.
You're right. It definitely takes you into the story. You can relate to the people.
Care about them more.
Yeah, care about them more. You don't when they die, you feel affected by it.
When I'm gonna go watch a Marvel movie, right? And there's Scarlett Johansson, I'm like, God bless her. God bless. I mean, like, she's like a walking work of art. Well done. You know, that's awesome. You know, I go to see Top Gun and I'm watching Tom Cruise and I'm like, dude, you're the single best looking 60-year-old man on planet Earth. Well done, sir. Like, my hat's off to you. You are a movie star. I am not against any of that. Movie stars are a super important part of our business. And the Dream Factory is built on glamour and beauty and all. Awesome. I love it. Horror movies don't work that way.
No.
Amy Steele is like the greatest final girl because not because she's beautiful, and she's beautiful, but she's not so beautiful that the men in the audience feel intimidated and the women go, ugh, I hate her. Oh my God.
Right.
Awful.
Right.
She's relatable. You go, I know that girl lived on my road when I grew up. I know that girl. There's something about that's important.
I think every final girl in the Friday the 13th franchise is actually pretty relatable.
I agree. I agree with that.
All the way, except for Marcus's remake, where we don't think we think that's the only Friday the 13th movie that had no final girl.
Yeah.
Because they killed Danielle Panabaker right before she pretty much was the final girl.
They sure did.
I told you, Al. Told you.
And she's a sweetheart. Danielle, she's terrific. She's terrific.
I see. We were talking about that too, and I said, you know, the last one didn't have a final girl, and I said, oh, there's a final girl. And I'm like, no, it's not. Thank you for vindicating me. You know what? And on that note, I can tell you right now, and let me extend this to you, Marcus. But I do hope that you'll come back when the documentary is ready to be released.
I'd love to.
We love to have you back.
I'd love
Absolutely.
to.
I absolutely, yeah. I hope you had a good time. I hope we
had a great time.
I hope we asked some really good questions about you, because believe me, we don't like asking the same old 6 questions. Right. We don't have a script. We don't have no preset questions here.
I love it.
We just go with what you tell us.
By the way, I have one request, because I'll totally come back when the doc comes out. But I have one request. If you guys haven't seen Secret Santa yet, definitely check it out, because I'm super proud of that movie. I love that. It's a scrappy, awesome little movie with all my actors, and it's my team making it, and it's like this tiny, scrappy little movie. Okay. And the next time I meet with you, let's talk about it a little bit, you know, because it's
we definitely will.
That is sort of the first movie that Skeleton Crew is built on, and it's sort of where what I'm trying to build right now is kind of on that idea of sort of like, where did the Roger Cormans go, and sort of like making small, scrappy, independent horror films for an audience that is starved of new material. And Secret Santa is definitely that. So if you haven't seen it yet, I would ask that you do.
I have not, but I'll say this: because I know a lot of the movies you're associated with, and I watched the trailer before this interview, and my God, that movie looks so much fun, dude. I plan on getting myself a copy, and that's going to be some Christmas time.
I love it. I love it. Reach out to me, and I'll get you guys hooked up.
Oh, nice! Thank you.
Wow, thank you.
Appreciate it.
That'd be awesome. I want to thank the chat for coming out there and kicking ass as you guys always do. I appreciate it so much. I better tell you what's coming up, because before we go, I got to tell you what's coming up. Otherwise, the Bat and the Cat, we'll be back next week on the 10th. And what are we doing on the 10th? Al, why don't you tell them what we're doing on the 10th on your channel?
On the 10th, we are doing the Bat versus the Cat. We're doing the Bat with Vincent Price, and
we're doing the giant Gila monster with the cat.
And the giant Gila monster. Yep. How
you like that for horror? Right. All right. Let's see. And then on the 17th, we'll be Al's channel for the next 2 weeks. We're doing Mark Polonia week starting on the 17th of July. We're covering all things Mark Polonia. Do you know who Mark Polonia is, Adam?
I don't. What? How would I know Mark Polonia?
He makes. How would you explain that, Mark?
He makes micro budget, like straight to video horror flicks.
Okay, give me a title.
Splatter Farm, House Squatch. Yeah.
Bigfoot versus Zombie.
Bigfoot versus Zombies. Yeah.
I do not know his work, but he sounds awesome.
You know what? He is awesome, and he actually is releasing a movie this summer called Amityville in Space.
Of course he did. I have heard. By the way, I have heard of Amityville in Space. Yeah, I have heard about that. So good for him for finding a title that would find my ear. So well done.
So we're going to be talking about Mark Polonia all about his films for the week of the 17th, and we're doing a collaboration with our good friends House of Horrors, Stephen and Boom, and that will start on the 17th, and then on the 24th we are doing Christmas movies. We're doing Christmas. We're doing Christmas.
By the way, that is my birthday. July 24th is my birthday.
Yes.
Talk about Secret Santa. See the movie before then, and talk about Secret Santa.
Yes. You know what we can do? If we can find I have to find a physical copy. Is a physical copy for sale?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to look for
it. If you guys go to secretsantathemovie.com /merch MERCH. secretsantathemovie.com/merch. And I will talk to the guys and make sure that I sign your copies if you guys pick up copies. So,
very cool.
All right,
that could work for us. I think that could work for us. Let's see. And then on the 31st, here on my channel, we will be talking about werewolves. That's right. And the one big announcement I have before we let everybody go is on the 28th of July on 8 Questions With. On a Thursday, I will be having as my guest the lovely Crystal Lowell from Final Destination 3, Wrong Turn 2, Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Wonder, all sorts of fun activities, all sorts of fun movies. She's a screen queen. She started as a screen queen, and now she is a Hallmark, very, very well thought of in the Hallmark movies. So she's done horror films. Now she's doing family films. So that's another interesting twist of a career, very much like Julie's career. It's like you go from a screen queen and then you morphed over to a family, very much a family actress. I think it's a fascinating story. All right, everybody, that will be it for us. If you want to go over to Gory B Movie, we'll be there in about 20 minutes or so. Otherwise, thank you for coming, and we will see you. We'll see you next week on Al's channel for the Bat and the Cat. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Stay right. Everybody, stay right where you're at. And here we go.
Cheers.